This kid was just your average delivery guy. But today, on a routine run, he got slammed by a truck out of the blue, and there was no question the truck driver was completely at fault. But the driver wasn't screaming apologies. He was growling like some kind of beast. Agony ripped through Liu Feng's body, and he was sure this was the end. But in that moment, the voice of his sister, Liu Xintong, crackled from his phone. Her voice was the jolt he needed, pulling him back from the brink. He couldn't check out now. Not when his little sister was fighting a rare blood disease. He'd already sacrificed everything for her, dropping out of school and grinding as a delivery driver for 3 solid years just to cover her medical bills. He'd painstakingly saved up hundreds of thousands for the implant chip she desperately needed. One successful surgery was all it would take to save her. The thought of dying now, leaving his sister all alone in the world, he knew he could never face his parents in the great beyond. Besides, he was still a total virgin, hadn't even gotten to first base. There was no way he was ready to cash in his chips just like that. Maybe this will work? In a last-ditch effort, Liu Feng frantically tapped a weird-looking app on his phone. Sometime later, he groggily came to, his head resting on something soft, a faint, sweet smell in the air. He realized he was actually lying with his head in a woman's lap. Before his brain could even catch up, he heard her speaking into a phone. "That's right, doctor. The patient's covered in blood. He's right here. With me. Oh, wait, I think he's waking up." Liu Feng looked up and saw she wasn't just some random woman. She was a straight-up 10 out of 10. "You're awake?" she said. "I was just driving by and saw you. Looks like you've been in an accident?" "Thank you," he managed, trying to sit up. "My name's Liu Feng. I'm delivery driver 9528 for Eat Your Fill lunch. I think a car hit me." The woman stood, brushing herself off. "Oh, in that case, what a small world. I guess that makes us co-workers in a way." And get this woman was none other than Kenley Fox, the president of the Lydian Group, the corporation that owns Eat Your Fill lunch. She then told him that she'd already called an ambulance for him and was even tracking its location. From his new vantage point, Kenley was even more stunning. Liu Feng was completely captivated, but then it hit him he had bigger problems to worry about right now. He needed to call his sister. He reached for his phone, and that's when he saw the terrifying notification glowing on the screen. Life force, 9%. Host termination in 3 minutes. At the same time, Kenley was back on the phone with dispatch, telling them to step on it, as Liu Feng was suddenly looking frantic and out of it. The countdown continued. Host termination in 2 minutes and 50 seconds. Recommendation: absorb electrical energy from a nearby source to restore life force. A voice suddenly resonated inside Liu Feng's head. It was the same one he'd heard right before he blacked out. According to its message, he had a little over 2 minutes left to live. Obviously, Liu Feng wasn't ready to kick the bucket, so he decided to take a gamble and do what the voice said. If he was guessing right, the electrical energy it was talking about had to be coming from the car parked just a few feet away. So, while Kenley was distracted on the phone with the paramedics, Liu Feng painfully dragged his body toward the vehicle. The second his hand made contact, he vanished into thin air. When Kenley turned around, he was gone. "Ha ha ha! It actually worked!" Liu Feng laughed, already a block away. "I can't afford an ambulance ride anyway." He had already hoisted up his mangled scooter and was making a break for it. Liu Feng had no clue what just went down, but one thing was for sure. After sucking the juice out of that car, his injuries were completely gone. This was totally insane. Had he become some kind of electricity-powered superhero? No, that couldn't be it. Thinking it through, Liu Feng figured that the app's energy conversion points must have been what healed his wounds. This bizarre app had literally saved his life. He vaguely remembered downloading it after buying a secondhand phone, but the details were fuzzy. All that mattered was that his health was back at 100%, which meant he needed to get back on the grind. No time or money to waste on a hospital visit. Right on cue, his phone started ringing. It was his girlfriend, Shen Qian. The second Liu Feng picked up, she laid into him. "You absolute scumbag. You finally answer your phone? Do you even care that I'm your girlfriend?" Liu Feng winced, awkwardly scratching his head. "Shen Qian, look, I've got to go see my sister right now. I'll hit you up this afternoon when I'm done. Sorry." Now, visiting his seriously ill sister should have been a perfectly valid reason. But to Shen Qian, it was apparently grounds for a breakup. She completely went off on him, ranting about how he'd spend hundreds of thousands on an implant chip for his sister, but wouldn't even buy her a designer purse. Liu Feng tried his best to reason with her, but Shen Qian just dropped the bomb that she already had a new boyfriend and slammed the phone down. Liu Feng's head was spinning. He was drowning in debt for his sister's treatment. His scooter was trashed. His girlfriend had just kicked him to the curb, and he was still aching all over. For a split second, Liu Feng found himself wishing for the world to end, just so he wouldn't have to face his problems. And right at that moment, his sister, Liu Xintong, called him in a panic. Through her sobs, she explained that a bunch of freaky people had shown up at the hospital. They were attacking everyone, biting them, and she was hiding, scared for her life. The dark thoughts in Liu Feng's head evaporated. All that mattered was getting to his sister, and fast. But his e-scooter was busted, and the hospital was way too far to run. Just then, another notification popped up from that strange app. Would you like to spend 50 points to repair and upgrade the electric scooter? Of course he did, but there was a catch. He'd already blown all his points on healing himself. The system instantly came back with a new objective. Over 500 meters deep in the nearby woods, there was an electrical device he could drain for more points. Without a second of hesitation, Liu Feng took off at a dead sprint. He had no idea that car was carrying Shen Qian, who'd officially become his ex-girlfriend just moments before. Riding shotgun next to her was a bald, pot-bellied old man, the new boyfriend she had just flaunted. Shen Qian was whining non-stop, trying to convince the fat cat to buy her a chip, but he was having none of it. Technology had absolutely exploded over the 120 years of the new era. That period went down in history as the first year of artificial intelligence. Nations across the globe were pouring resources into genetic AI, and the artificial intelligence chip was one of its crowning achievements. This advanced tech was exactly why the chip cost a fortune, something only the super rich or, at best, the upper middle class could even dream of affording. After installing the chip, a person could access a fully immersive virtual web, which was the exact perspective the old man was using to leer at Shen Qian. So if you want that chip, you better start earning it, understand? The old creep slurred, and Shen Qian didn't even flinch. But just as they were about to get down to business in the car, a massive force slammed down from above, caving in the roof. Liu Feng had just earned enough points to regenerate his electric vehicle, and in his mad dash, he didn't even notice the passenger was his ex. Once the vehicle was repaired, its speed shot up by a solid 30%, and he still had 300 conversion points to spare. It was almost as if the system knew Liu Feng was in a race against time and gave him a boost. This modification feature, while a fair trade where better upgrades cost more points, was completely tailored to his every command. It looked like Liu Feng had seriously hit the jackpot with this incredible system. Liu Xintong, hang on, I'm coming to get you. He floored it, but it still took him a full hour to get there. The sight that greeted him made Liu Feng's blood run cold. The hospital entrance was blown to bits. Blood was sprayed across every surface, and Uncle Zhang, the security guard, was gone. Liu Feng crept inside cautiously. The power was out, forcing him to rely on a flashlight. The walls and floor were slick with bloodstains, but there wasn't a single soul in sight. As Liu Feng tried to process what happened, something suddenly lunged at him from the darkness. "My dog! Where's my dog?" the man wailed. Liu Feng recognized him as the dog enthusiast he often delivered packages to at the hospital. But one look told him this man wasn't human anymore. He looked just like one of those things from the movies, a zombie. A wave of panic hit Liu Feng, and he dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the man's grasp as he crashed to the floor. His eyes landed on a pair of high heels. For a split second, Liu Feng felt a rush of relief, recognizing them as Dr. Li's, the one in charge of Liu Xintong's case. But when Dr. Li leaned over him, he saw she was just like the dog lover. It looked like they'd all been hit by the same plague, and just then, more of the infected swarmed out of the shadows. Liu Feng scrambled into a nearby room, trying to barricade the door. That's when he realized he was in the security office, and by some cruel twist of fate, the monitors were still on, showing Liu Xintong. She was in the second basement, her face a terrifying mask of pulsing veins. The image sent a primal shiver down Liu Feng's spine. In this age, scientific fields like genetic engineering, artificial intelligence, and aerospace tech had advanced at a dizzying pace. Humanity had stepped into a near-future reality where AI was becoming a part of daily life. Global power was split between three factions: the Dawn Alliance led by the East Asian nations, New Roma with its core in the European bloc, and the Theos Alliance, centered in the Americas. These three superpowers were locked in a constant power struggle, keeping the world on a knife's edge. The reckless misuse of genetic technology had unleashed all sorts of plagues. The most feared of them all was the black blood disease, which caused the victims' limbs to stiffen as their blood turned black, seeping out until they finally died. The only cure was a treatment using the world's most expensive medical chip. Liu Feng was just a regular guy from the lower sectors. After his parents died, he and his little sister, Liu Xintong, had only each other to get by. Back then, Liu Feng hadn't known the meaning of true despair. The day Liu Xintong learned her brother had borrowed hundreds of thousands to pay for her black blood treatment, her will to live just shattered. Liu Feng put on a brave face, trying to cheer her up. But every time Liu Xintong thought of her brother sacrificing his dreams to be a delivery driver just for her, she couldn't hold back her tears. In that moment, Liu Feng made a silent vow. He would do anything, absolutely anything, to keep his sister alive. But now, seeing her on that security monitor, an overwhelming wave of hopelessness crashed over him. Liu Feng desperately wanted to run to his sister, but his immediate problem was the horde of infected about to tear down the door. With nowhere else to turn, he pleaded with the system for help. Right on cue, it presented him with a new mission. The only problem was, neither option was a cakewalk. The first mission was to hide out in the Tin security room and survive. The success rate was a tempting 95%, but after 2 days, he'd starved to death anyway. The second mission was to rescue his sister from the research lab in the hospital's basement. If he pulled it off, he'd get a reward of 1,000 conversion points, but the survival rate was a grim 5%. The system also added that his sister's transformation had already begun. He was stuck between a rock and a hard place. Liu Feng had no real choice. He asked it to plot a course to the basement, but the only route was straight through the door, a 50-meter dash down the hall, then a left turn into the laundry room entrance. Damn it all, charging out there now was a suicide run. But then, Liu Feng's eyes fell on a rack of mops in the corner. He snapped off a handle for a makeshift weapon and shoved a heavy table against the door to buy himself some time. Scavenging the room for supplies, Liu Feng suddenly remembered his system's powerful modification ability. By the time he was done crafting his gear, the mob outside had finally splintered the door. The first infected to stumble through was none other than Liu Xintong's doctor, but Liu Feng was prepared, taking it down with a custom weapon he'd just built. He had spent 100 points to slap a knife onto a broom handle and juice it up with an electric scooter battery, creating a makeshift shock spear. Another 100 points turned a cardboard box into a suit of reinforced plastic armor, which was definitely more than strong enough to deflect an infected's bite. Now, staring down the horde, Liu Feng was no longer afraid. He spent the next 10 minutes dispatching the ghouls clogging the doorway, after which, he immediately bolted to rescue Liu Xintong. But following the system's guidance, he found the door it promised was actually a disgusting laundry chute for dropping soiled linens into the basement, and it smelled like death itself. Despite his hesitation, he held his breath and slid down the shaft, all for his sister. Luckily, he landed on a massive pile of dirty clothes, emerging completely injured. And there, in the gloom, Liu Feng found his sister, but his relief turned to ice. Liu Xintong was in restraints, being led away by 2 men dressed like soldiers. A strange collar-like device was also fastened around her neck. Reporting, Death Squad to command. The asset has been safely acquired, one of the soldiers radioed, but the line was dead. Command, do you copy? Crap, looks like our comms are shot. Turning to his partner, Chiang Lin, he smirked and said, guess this mission was a real piece of cake, eh? Target offered 0 resistance. I gotta say I never pictured the rumored variant to be just a kid. As they were talking, a woman carrying a heavy machine gun approached them. This was the second in command of the Death Squad, a special government combat unit. The vice captain's voice was firm. Stay on the comms to HQ. I've got a bad feeling about this. Liu Feng could tell these weren't your average grunts, but his sister was a prisoner. With his mind racing, he charged out from cover, but he only managed to shout, Xintong, when he was violently pulled back into the shadows, and his mouth was smothered. Liu Feng's heart hammered in his chest, certain an infected had grabbed him. Across the room, the vice captain of the Death Squad had heard his cry, so she dispatched 2 soldiers to search the surrounding rooms. But for Liu Xintong, hearing her brother's voice changed everything. She suddenly exploded with resistance. All this time she'd been perfectly compliant, but now she shattered her cuffs with raw strength. In the next instant, she used her bare hands to remove the head of the soldier named Chiang Lin. The other Special Forces members were absolutely horrified by the display. They immediately lit her up with gunfire, but every single bullet missed. Her agility was off the charts, and in the blink of an eye, she disappeared into an air vent. Of course, the soldiers wanted to go after her, but it was too late. The gunfire had drawn in a massive swarm of the infected. The scene devolved into pure bedlam, a symphony of gunshots, snarling, and screams of agony. Liu Feng was paralyzed with fear, not daring to make a sound. Pinned between the soldiers and a sea of zombies, he was sure he was a dead man. Then, at the most critical moment, the person behind him suddenly let go and chuckled. Ha, you little punk. Your face is killing me. What are you doing at the hospital? Liu Feng was totally stunned. Even in the dim light, he knew that voice. It was Uncle Zhang, the security guard. Uncle Zhang, my sister was having an operation. But what the hell are those things out there? Beats me. From what I heard on the news, the Tianyu Ming Alliance started this whole war, which led to someone detonating a virus bomb. Those freaks outside are just people who got mutated by some kind of chip. Hearing this, Liu Feng's blood ran cold. He quickly demanded to know what happened to Liu Xintong. Uncle Zhang admitted he didn't know the specifics, just that there was something special about his sister. Apparently, the girl went into the basement, and that's when those soldiers snatched her. It seemed like she was their primary target. The more Liu Feng heard, the more his panic grew, but the #1 priority was staying alive. He wanted to drag Uncle Zhang out of there right away. The infected outside sounded like they were zeroing in on them, but the guard just shook his head, explaining that he couldn't make it. He'd already been bitten. No, Uncle Zhang, let's go. There's gotta be another way, Liu Feng insisted, getting more desperate by the second. Listen, Uncle Zhang said, ruffling his hair. I've seen what happens when you get bit. You become one of those monsters. For months, I've seen how hard you fought for your sister. I'll block this door for you. You use the back exit and go find her. You two have to make it out of this alive, he urged, shoving Liu Feng to get moving. Liu Feng's eyes filled with tears, but he knew he couldn't waste a second. He refused to let Uncle Zhang's sacrifice go to waste, so he whispered an apology and bolted. Watching Liu Feng's form disappear, Uncle Zhang finally allowed himself a sigh of relief. For months, whenever Liu Feng came to see his sister, he'd always offer the old guard his boxed lunch. The two of them had gotten to be pretty close. Saving Liu Feng now, he felt, was worth everything. Liu Feng ran for his life, forcing himself not to look back. Just then, a notification popped up from his system, a new mission, triggered by the detection of a nearby black blood disease serum. He was presented with two mission options. The first choice was to escape the research lab via the staff room's emergency exit, which carried a 90% chance of survival. Completing this objective would reward him with a combat suit. The second option was a dead man's run to the laboratory for a serum to save his sister, with a measly 15% survival rate. If he pulled it off, the reward would be a shelter blueprint. But on the way, 3 zombies blocked his path. The system calculated that Liu Feng's combat power was too low and recommended he abort the mission. Shut your trap, system. I'm taking option B, Liu Feng roared. He already had the 3 walkers in his sights. With a makeshift weapon clutched in his hand, Liu Feng charged right at them. It seemed the recent run-in with Uncle Zhang had seriously fired him up, causing his combat power to spike. He led with a vicious kick aimed straight for the first zombie's head, then used his weapon to scrap the other 2. By that time, the weapon's durability had hit 0. It was just a piece of junk he'd rigged up, so it was a miracle it lasted that long. Liu Feng ditched it, and right in front of him stood the laboratory, and inside lay the serum to stop the black blood disease. The moment Liu Feng swung the door open, Liu Xintong lunged right for him. He didn't care that his sister had already turned. He just pulled her into a desperate embrace. He kept shouting, "Xintong, fight it!" Liu Xintong, who had lost her mind, actually showed a flicker of recognition at her brother's voice, but the moment of clarity only lasted for a few seconds. After that, Liu Xintong lost control again, clutching her head and screaming nonstop. The system couldn't process this, labeling it an unforeseen variable, right before. It advised Liu Feng to use the inhibitor serum. He spotted the syringe in the middle of the room and made a break for it. But the second Liu Feng snatched the serum, he also tripped the lab's self-destruct sequence. The countdown started at 10 minutes. At that exact moment, Liu Xintong went berserk again, grabbing her brother by the collar. Liu Feng desperately slammed the syringe into her carotid artery, emptying the entire dose. Just like that, Liu Xintong went limp and passed out. The system announced he had completed the rescue mission for his sister, rewarding him with 1,000 conversion points and a shelter map. But immediately, it presented 2 new mission choices. The first choice, ditch his sister at the laundry room door, and get back to the first floor with a 100% chance of survival. The second mission, head down to the research lab's storage room and use his new map to convert it into a bomb shelter, with a 40% survival rate. The system warned him, however, that the location was less than ideal for a shelter, and expanding it carelessly would cost Liu Feng his conversion points. Without needing to think, for a second, Liu Feng chose the riskier second mission. He scooped up his sister and sprinted, with the bomb set to blow in just 9 minutes. But when he reached the exit, his path was blocked. Based on her physique, it was the vice captain from that special forces unit. "Hey, you hurt? Let's call a truce, huh? This place is about to blow. We should get out of here together." Liu Feng knew he was outgunned, so he tried to reason with her. Before she could even reply, the system flashed a warning that it detected the signal of a mutant in the middle of turning into a zombie, but it couldn't pinpoint the location, urging him to evacuate now. Right then, the woman across from him suddenly tore her shirt open. Liu Feng was so freaked out, he couldn't even look. "Hold on, lady. Just hear me out. This place is a death trap. There's a zombie turning nearby. Whatever you're about to do, can we please do it after we get out of here alive?" He kept his eyes squeezed shut, but then he felt something wet on his cheek, like a dog licking him. Liu Feng finally worked up the courage to open his eyes. The sight in front of him nearly made Liu Feng black out right then and there. Holy crap, the mutant the system warned me about is this woman. Without a second thought, he slammed the laboratory door shut, but she shattered the door with no effort and stormed inside. Liu Feng went into full-blown panic. He tried to use his conversion points, but the system alerted him that there were no suitable materials in the area to convert. Just then, a cold hand landed on Liu Feng's shoulder. "It's over. I'm cornered. There's no escape." That was his last thought. But then Liu Xintong's eyes snapped open. She slashed at the female monster with her bare hand. Liu Feng stared, completely stunned, wondering how his sister suddenly got so powerful. But her single attack wasn't nearly enough to take the creature down. Meanwhile, the laboratory had just 3 minutes left before it blew. In a panic, he swept his sister into his arms, followed the system's map to the storage room, and managed to slam the door shut with just a few seconds left on the clock. After that, Liu Feng successfully spent 500 points to activate the shelter just as the laboratory bomb went off. In a flash, a massive boom echoed out, followed by an explosion that rocked the entire city. The blast was enormous, but after the shockwave tore past, Liu Feng found he was still alive. This meant he had actually pulled it off and turned the old storage room into a shelter. The system sent a notification congratulating him for being the first survivor of the apocalypse to establish a shelter. Liu Feng received a gift package, and the system reminded him to expand the shelter by leveling it up. Other than being a bit of a dump, he had nothing to complain about. Liu Feng was getting a migraine from the crappy phone signal when his sister suddenly collapsed again. Outside, the world was crawling with the undead, so the two of them were trapped for the time being. Liu Feng had to burn 50 conversion points to restore a busted computer in the storage room, successfully repairing it and getting it online. This place is a total dump, yet this old computer can be optimized for an internet connection after a few mods. The system's capabilities are seriously impressive. Liu Feng also queried it about his sister's condition, and the system reported that she passed out because the new serum is only temporarily delaying the hybrid mutation of the black blood disease and the virus from the chip. For people infected with just the chip virus, this serum actually does absolutely nothing. It can only stall the hybrid mutation with the black blood disease. If this combined mutation completes, the infected person will become something far more terrifying than a standard zombie. The system classifies these black blood infected as variants. Variants? Like that special forces woman who just mutated? Liu Feng asked, intrigued. That was merely a morphological mutation of a zombie. A person with black blood disease who mutates from the chip will evolve into an entirely different species, the system clarified. According to the system, this serum's effect is only a temporary stopgap. He couldn't just let his sister morph into some horrifying monster. Now that he was online, his first move had to be reporting this to the authorities. Liu Feng was sure the country would have a way to handle this virus. However, when he got online, he was flooded with devastating news. Many news outlets had posted their final reports before going dark, as the global infected count had already hit 50 billion, and they issued a final warning for people to just lock their doors, stay home, and wait for government assistance. But right after that, news broke that the government itself had collapsed. The number of people infected with the chip virus in the city had surged to 30 million, and the military had been overrun, forced to retreat and defend the riverbanks. The architect of this whole catastrophe was the Heavenly Alliance. In short, the apocalypse had officially kicked off, and he could no longer depend on the government or the army. But Liu Feng wasn't about to stand by and watch his sister become a monster. He asked the system again if there was any way to save Liu Xintong. The reply he got was that this doomsday shelter was at his complete disposal. Only by leveling it up to level 5 could he unlock the vaccine research center and permanently cure Liu Xintong. Liu Feng was dying to see the blueprints for the vaccine research center, but was shut down by the system because he was currently just a level 1 refugee. He didn't have the clearance for high-level schematics, and only by grinding to raise his own level and the shelters could he get access. Then, the system laid out all the blueprints for the level 1 shelter, which included ventilation ducts, a water pump, a bedroom, a dining hall, and a power generator room. Liu Feng had to either build these from scratch or renovate them to upgrade the shelter to level 2. The blueprints for all these were in the shop, but everything was crazy expensive, and he only had 550 conversion points left. The cheapest item among the level 1 blueprints was for the ventilation ducts. It had been destroyed in the recent explosion. The system advised Liu Feng to fix this first, otherwise, in just 5 more hours, his shelter would be completely starved of oxygen. But Liu Feng refused to buy a new blueprint, instead spending 30 points on a composite metal ingot from the shop and then repairing the ventilation fan himself. And it turned out he had guessed right. His own repair and modification skills could also clear the mission. If that was the case, Liu Feng could use materials on hand to complete tasks, saving his remaining points. To buy the high-tech blueprints, Liu Feng got to work modifying the simplest items in the shelter, like toilet paper and lubricant. While he was busy, checked with the system on his sister's status again. Based on the available data, the system couldn't give a full diagnosis of Liu Xintong's condition, only that her intelligence and memories had been severely degraded, regressing to the mental state of a 7-year-old, though she thankfully still remembered Liu Feng was her brother. Liu Feng instinctively pictured his sister at 7, then got so choked up he accidentally crushed the bottle of lubricant in his hand. He then vowed that he would do everything in his power to save Liu Xintong so she could be that brilliant girl once more. Just then, Liu Xintong woke up and saw the gooey liquid in her brother's hand, but judging by the look in Liu Xintong's eyes, she wasn't buying it for a second. Liu Feng could only cry on the inside. His squeaky clean image, built up over years, was now totally shot in his sister's eyes. The next day, another crew from the Reaper squad started closing in on the hospital. They were tracking their vice captain, who had vanished the day before. The one in charge was a female captain named Li. At that moment, Liu Feng was still scrambling to figure out how to explain to his sister that he wasn't some kind of creep. There was no way he was letting his entire reputation go down the drain like this. If he didn't clear this up, how could he even look his sister in the eye again? Liu Feng was trying every angle, but when he turned back, he saw Liu Xintong had already drifted off to sleep. It made sense, though. No matter how tough she was still just a kid. She'd probably forget the whole thing by morning anyway, so maybe explaining wasn't so critical after all. After getting his sister settled, Liu Feng suddenly got a notification from the system. For making it through the first day of the apocalypse, he'd earned a shot at the lucky draw. At the same time, the system dropped a new mission on him: acquire the blueprint for the power generator room. Successfully repairing the tensing power generator room would net him a 100-point reward. Liu Feng immediately used his lucky draw, hoping to score the blueprint and save some cash. Unfortunately, he got his hands on a vaccine. He was a little bummed it wasn't a blueprint, but this stuff was seriously pricey in the system's shopping center. Plus, this vaccine worked by controlling the virus through the chip, boosting the body's resistance, though it couldn't actually cure the infected and turn them back into regular people. On top of that, he'd have to upgrade the shelter all the way to level 5 just to buy the blueprint for it in the shop. Since it was no good for curing Liu Xintong, Liu Feng had no choice but to use it on himself. After all, he had to survive if he was ever going to save his sister. With that done, Liu Feng pinged the system to see if the generator down in the basement research lab could be repurposed as the shelter's main power source. The system gave him the green light, but there was a catch. The generator's power supply was fried. The backup energy core was located in the department head's office, way up on the 16th floor of the hospital's research wing. Just then, the system triggered the next optional mission. Option 1, buy the generator blueprint, which came with a reward of 100 points and a 100% chance of survival. Option 2, head to the 16th floor research department, find the power core, and fix the generator. The payout for that was 900 conversion points, 10 reputation points, and a cool 1,000 experience points. The only problem? The survival rate was a measly 10%. Of course, a guy like Liu Feng, who was pinching every last point, was going to pick the second option. Right then, an idea sparked in his mind. If he could actually pull this off, upgrade the shelter, and start recruiting survivors, wouldn't he basically be the king of his own little kingdom? Better yet, he could even bring in some gorgeous female survivors. The thought alone was enough to give Liu Feng a spontaneous nosebleed. And, of course, that was the exact moment Liu Xintong decided to wake up, catching him with that creepy look on his face. "You're such a perv," she mumbled, the same exact words as before. "Whoa, Xintong, let me explain." And with that, after a day of recovery, Liu Feng set out the next afternoon on his practically suicidal mission: to snag the backup energy core from the 16th floor of the research wing. You know, this hospital was seriously decked out, with a whole research department up on the 16th floor and a full-blown research lab in the basement. The main entrance, which doubled as the shelter's way in, was completely blocked off from that explosion. So this time, Liu Feng had no choice but to use the emergency exit to get back topside. But that wasn't all. He had to take Liu Xintong with him. He'd planned on going solo, but she latched onto him right as he was about to head out. "Don't go. I'm scared." And really, with his sister stuck in the mindset of a 7-year-old, Liu Feng couldn't bring himself to leave her behind. So, the two siblings had to face this brutal new world together. The second they hit the surface, Liu Feng realized that the hospital was now swarming with the undead. A handful of people were still alive, but they were getting torn apart, their screams echoing all around. Liu Feng didn't have a second to spare, let alone play the hero, because his only mission right now was saving his sister. Liu Feng grabbed Liu Xintong's hand and bolted. For a split second, he felt unstoppable, and then he saw it. Liu Feng was staring right into the face of a zombie he knew all too well. A closer look confirmed it: Uncle Zhang, the security guard. The man had died saving his life down in the basement. It looked like after he turned, he'd somehow shambled his way upstairs. He'd never forget that Uncle Zhang had given his life for him, but now he was just another one of those things. Liu Feng pulled the makeshift weapon off his back and said in an icy tone, "Uncle Zhang, thank you for saving me. I'm not going to let that virus keep defiling your body. I'm going to set you free." Meanwhile, On the hospital roof, the rest of the death squad had just touched down and were already laying down, suppressing fire. Strolling calmly through the storm of bullets was Li Xin, the third captain of the government's special combat unit. She was wielding a machine gun in one hand and a melee weapon in the other. The moment Li Xin opened fire herself, the vets told the rookie to hold his position. Because when the captain gets to work, you don't need to shoot anymore. You just need to watch the masterclass put on by the death squad's top operator. It took Li Xin all of 5 minutes to clean house on every zombie in sight. The rookie just stared, completely blown away. When the dust settled, he couldn't help but shout about how incredible she was. Yeah, well, she's got one little flaw, the vet next to him muttered. And right on cue, the entire squad watched as Li Xin pointed at 2 of the corpses she'd just made and started yelling, "Hey, you two! What kind of soldiers are you? Slacking off on the job! Get back in formation and follow me!" That was the biggest hiccup Li Xin had. She had a habit of seeing things that weren't really there. On top of that, she had another little quirk, but the vet was reluctant to bring it up because it was considered a bad omen. The thing is, anyone who gets assigned to Li Xin's team usually ends up in a body bag. That's actually how the squad got its name, Death. Speaking of which, Liu Feng was also in a life-or-death struggle with the undead, but unlike them, he didn't have any of that high-grade military hardware. After his last weapon broke, its durability completely shot, Liu Feng had to scrounge around a storage room for parts. He managed to cobble together a brand new weapon. His inventory also included 3 bottles of water and 22 cans of food. The food would last him about a week, but the water supply was dangerously low. To make matters worse, while his back was turned, Liu Xintong had already downed 2 whole bottles. So this supply run wasn't just about finding the backup energy core. Liu Feng desperately needed to find more provisions. Right on cue, the system chimed in with a ding, announcing a refresh of his attribute and ability points. It was prompting Liu Feng to make his selections. The list of available ability trees was insane. For instance, there was firepower, which specialized in handheld heavy weapons and heavy-duty armor. He could have picked skills like weightlifting, iron lungs for better stamina, or even pharmacist to get a handle on medical supplies. Liu Feng scrolled through the options. Marksmanship looked tempting, but with guns being illegal in the country, getting his hands on a firearm would be next to impossible. After weighing his options, he sank 1 attribute point into his strength stat, then spent 2 ability points to unlock the Kung Fu Master skill at level 1 and the Superman ability at level 2. The Kung Fu Master skill hooked him up with a combat chip, while the Superman ability supercharged his energy. Snapping back to the present, Liu Feng found himself staring down Uncle Zhang, the very man who'd looked after him and his sister for months, the man who had just saved his life by holding back that ravenous horde. But it didn't matter anymore. The man was gone, replaced by a monster. Gritting his teeth, Liu Feng said his silent goodbyes and poured the 10 weapon modification points he had into his fire knife. The moment Uncle Zhang was engulfed in a roaring inferno, tears streamed down Liu Feng's face. He swore an oath right then and there to protect his sister, to make sure Uncle Zhang's sacrifice meant something. Amidst the grief, though, Liu Feng could feel a surge of his own power. It was a significant boost. Turns out that Master Chip and the Superman ability were the real deal. This place is a death trap. We can't stay here. Liu Feng then grabbed his sister's hand, and they took off, their target being the backup energy core located in the 16th floor research department. At that exact moment, down on the 7th floor, a young couple was desperately fleeing for their lives. The girl was none other than Li Xiang, the campus queen. The guy with her, Xiao Guang, was on cloud 9. He'd managed to rescue the school's most beautiful girl during the end of the world. She'd confessed her feelings for him, and he was already picturing them heading home to get married once they got out of this mess. But just as they neared the elevator, a zombie lunged from the shadows. Xiao Guang felt a sharp pain in his neck, a bite. In a blind panic, he clutched at Li Xiang's skirt, but instead of helping him, she started trying to shove him away. "Why?" he stammered. "Don't you love me anymore, Li Xiang?" Seeing her reaction, pure terror washed over Xiao Guang. "Get your disgusting hands off of me!" Li Xiang shrieked, struggling so hard she tore her own skirt. "If it wasn't for this apocalypse, you think a girl like me would ever give you the time of day?" Her entire personality switched, on a dime. But karma came for Li Xiang fast, as another zombie sank its teeth into her neck just seconds later. As the horde closed in on the 2 of them, another group of survivors, cowering in a nearby corner, saw the whole thing go down. Of course, they didn't lift a finger to help. The portly man in charge was CEO Li, the director of some big-shot company, with his ever-loyal subordinate, Xiao Wang, at his side. A young boy and a couple of other women were huddled with them. Just my luck, coming to Bluebird Hospital for a checkup, only to get caught in this nightmare, CEO Li whined endlessly. Then, pulling rank as the oldest man around, he pointed at the terrified kid and ordered him to go out and scout ahead. The boy's older sister, a young woman named Zhao Jia, immediately shot back. "Hold on, why him? Why my brother?" Without a hint of shame, the CEO retorted, "We're not carrying any dead weight." The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife when a long-haired girl next to Zhao Jia shakily stood up and spoke. "Wait, this isn't right. He's just a child. I'm the director's secretary. I know this building like the back of my hand. There's a massive group of them to the right. Sending him out there is just sending him to his doom." CEO Lee sized up the girl, a greedy look in his eyes. He recognized her as Secretary Sarah from his visits to the hospital, but even a pretty face wasn't worth more than his own life. "So," CEO Lee sneered. "Well, Secretary Sarah, since you're feeling so heroic, why don't you go out there with the kid?" Sarah recoiled. She was no fighter. She was still young and, naturally, wanted to live. That's when Xiao Wang chimed in, suggesting they put it to a democratic vote. Besides Zhao Jia, who would never vote against her own brother, and Sarah, who abstained, every single other person voted for the boy to go. The old woman beside them just kept nodding, muttering, that's right, that's right." So, with a nod from CEO Lee, Xiao Wang bluntly shoved the little boy out into the open. The kid didn't stand a chance, and as he was tossed out, he looked back with tears flooding his eyes, crying out for his sister. As a result, before he could even scout the area, his cries drew a zombie right to their hiding spot. The second the poor kid laid eyes on the monster, he was so terrified he just collapsed backward, desperately scrambling away on the floor. Seeing the zombie lunge for her brother, a hysterical Zhao Jia tried to run out, but CEO Lee grabbed her, clamping a hand over her mouth. "Shut up. You want to get us all killed?" But Sarah saw it, the boy wasn't bitten. At the last possible second, a gleaming blade shot out from behind the creature and pierced straight through its throat. "You all right, kid?" A young man's voice called out. It could only be Liu Feng. The moment Sarah saw him appear, she instinctively fell to her knees as if she were looking at a god. As for him, he barely noticed her. His focus was on the 5 other infected shambling up the hall. The second they saw more trouble, CEO Lee and his crew bolted. Only Sarah, wondering why this newcomer wasn't running, stayed put to watch. And that's when she saw it. He drew a custom-made electric knife, took a steadying breath, and charged straight into the fray. That combat chip and his Superman skill had clearly given him a massive edge in a fight. Because of that, as Sarah watched Liu Feng carve through one zombie after another, she was completely mesmerized. His technique was brutally efficient, yet somehow fluid and graceful, like a deadly dance. He moved like he was dancing through the zombie horde, a sight that sent a shiver of excitement down her spine she'd never experienced. And it wasn't just Sarah. Even the Zhao sisters were captivated by Liu Feng's combat prowess. Director Li's crew, noticing they weren't being chased or devoured, cautiously peeked out to see what was happening. What they witnessed was Liu Feng's murderous aura, an energy that was leagues more terrifying than any zombie. "Who are you?" After finishing his work, Liu Feng finally acknowledged the onlookers, but his voice was ice cold, so chilling that the cowardly Xiao Wang immediately bolted, screaming for Director Li to run for his life. He didn't stop until his lungs were burning, and just as he paused to gasp for air, a thick cloud of smoke billowed up out of nowhere. Emerging from the smoke was a stunning bombshell who looked like a goddess. "Well, hello, handsome. You here to play?" she cooed in an enchanting voice. In that instant, Xiao Wang completely forgot about the life-or-death situation he was in. He sauntered right up to her. "Hey, gorgeous, all by yourself? Don't you worry, I'll keep you safe." But without warning, tentacles erupted from her chest and ran him straight through before he could even process what was happening. And just like that, he was gone. Back with Liu Feng, the adrenaline from the fight began to fade, and realizing he was surrounded by survivors, he reined in his killing intent. My bad. It's been a while since I've run into other people, so I was a little on edge. Anyway, I'm Liu Feng, and this is my little sister, Lu Jintong. Sarah immediately latched onto the implication in his words. "A long time. Since you've met people, does that mean you've been hunting a lot of zombies? No wonder you're so skilled. You move like a pro." Just then, the old woman who'd been glued to Director Li's side scurried over and clapped Liu Feng on the shoulder like she knew him. "Young man, what's going on out there? Are the feds on their way to rescue us?" she asked desperately. "Ma'am, the government is gone. It's already collapsed. And outside this hospital, it's completely overrun with the dead." Liu Feng's blunt answer sent the woman spiraling into despair. That reminded him of something, and he turned to ask Sarah if she knew where to find the stairwell to the 16th floor. Being addressed directly by her hero, Sarah got completely flustered. Director Li, who'd been hiding in the corner, couldn't take watching this anymore. He stormed out, jabbing a finger at Liu Feng. "Don't listen to this kid's garbage. Our military is the strongest in the world. There's no way the apocalypse is real. He's just trying to lure us upstairs to get us all killed." Liu Feng didn't even flinch. "The phones have been dead, and the infected have been mutating for over 24 hours. So tell me, where are these government forces you keep talking about? Where are they?" Director Li was stunned into silence, but still managed to stammer that the military was just running a little late. Sarah, on the other hand, thought Liu Feng's logic was sound. The phones had been out for more than a day. And with this many undead popping up, the world ending didn't seem so far-fetched. If you don't believe me, go take a look downstairs yourself, Liu Feng said with a cold stare, before turning to help the Zhao sisters to their feet. Enraged at being dismissed, the pot-bellied director lunged forward and grabbed the bag on Liu Feng's shoulder, earning a fist square in the face for his trouble. Even though Director Li was a much bigger man, his strength was nothing compared to Liu Feng's, and the punch sent him flying. He cradled his jaw, staring in disbelief that Liu Feng had actually dared to strike him. You think I didn't see the way you were treating those sisters? And you still have the nerve to act tough in front of me? Who the hell do you think you are? Even after being hit and humiliated, Director Li didn't dare fight back. And right at that moment, Zhao Wang showed up right behind him. Consumed by fury, the old director was completely oblivious to the change in his assistant. Ah, Xiao Wang, perfect timing. Get over here and teach this disrespectful punk a lesson for me. Director Li never finished his sentence because Xiao Wang's teeth sank deep into his neck. The sudden turn of events shocked Liu Feng, who immediately screamed for everyone to get back. He himself, however, charged straight ahead, but his rush was a mistake. He'd underestimated this new threat. By the time his system finally processed a scan notification, flagging the mutated zombie's danger level as high, it was already too late. Liu Feng was slammed by Xiao Wang's tentacles. With no time to counter, he was sent hurtling backward. The raw power of a mutated zombie was on another level. Ahead of him, Xiao Wang casually tossed Director Li's body aside. Suddenly, Liu Feng caught the scent of a strange smoke. His instinct screamed a warning about the threat behind him, and he simultaneously swung his weapon, but his makeshift blade was parried. A grotesque maw then lunged, aiming to take his head clean off. Don't you look down on me. In that instant, it was as if Liu Feng unleashed his true power, delivering a devastating slash that should have cleaved his opponent in two. In theory, that blow was a killing strike, but it was at that precise moment Liu Feng realized the female creature was also a mutated zombie. The situation was spiraling out of control, but then Liu Xintong darted forward, grabbing the female zombie's tongue with her bare hands. Liu Feng was horrified. Even though Liu Xintong was powerful now, she still had the mind of a 7-year-old kid. He was terrified for her safety, but before he could yank her away from the monster, the glass window overhead suddenly exploded inward. An agile girl rappelled down into the room and immediately opened up with a machine gun, unleashing a relentless spray of bullets. The two mutated zombies were torn to shreds by the gunfire, and the rest of the horde were also mowed down in seconds. The girl performed the entire sequence with breathtaking efficiency. Liu Feng was completely mesmerized, and by the time he snapped out of it, he saw 2 soldiers standing there, with a barrel aimed right at him, warning him not to make a single move. Well, look what we have here. I've been searching for you 2 siblings for a while now. The name's Li Xin, captain of the death squad. And sorry, pal, because the girl behind you is our objective. Liu Feng clocked their heavy gear and was instantly on high alert. But when Li Xin dropped the name Death Squad, his tension skyrocketed, and he instinctively threw an arm out to shield his sister. With muzzles pointed at them from every direction, the situation was looking grim for Liu Feng. Please, help me, a trembling voice cried out. A soldier quickly ran a scanner and confirmed the old man's identity. A level 2 VIP, a high-priority government asset. Unfortunately for him, he was already bitten. Still, Li Xin ordered her subordinate to retrieve President Li. After all, a level 2 VIP wasn't someone they could just leave behind. Seeing that the cavalry had finally arrived, President Li breathed a sigh of relief, then arrogantly barked, "Hey, soldier, this punk laid his hands on me earlier and even tried to feed me to those things. He had the nerve to mess with a level 2 VIP like me, you hear? So hurry up and put a round in his skull for me." President Li's tone was pure entitlement, but he never expected that his command would be met with a cold barrel pressed against his own temple. Li Xin, stone-faced, told President Li to shut his trap, or he'd be the one taking the next dirt nap. The old geezer was terrified of checking out, so he immediately and obediently clammed up. Just then, Xiao Wang and the female monstrosity staggered back to their feet. They were still kicking. This completely baffled Li Xin, since she was sure she had taken their heads clean off just moments before. The entire squad snapped into a defensive formation, ready for a fight, but the female creature could strike from a distance, lashing out with tentacles from its maw and catching them completely off guard. The death squad was thrown into total chaos, giving Liu Feng the opening he needed. He grabbed his sister with one hand and Sarah with the other, yelling for her to lead them straight to the 16th floor. The Zhao siblings, of course, followed close behind. Li Xin was pissed to see him bolt, but she couldn't give chase with 2 mutant freaks as tough as cockroaches blocking her path. The 5 of them sprinted for their lives, and finally, broke free from the death squad's line of sight. "This way! Were those guys really government soldiers?" Sarah panted as they ran. "Maybe, but they're hell-bent on capturing my sister, so I don't trust them." Sorry for dragging you all into this. Hearing that, Sarah shook her head emphatically. She was putting her faith in Liu Feng, knowing the military only bothered to save people with VIP status. From behind them, Zhao Jia chimed in. We trust you too. My name's Zhao Jia. Thanks for saving my little brother, Zhao Hua. Liu Feng glanced back to reply, but in that exact moment, he saw something was wrong, a fresh bite mark on Zhao Hua's hand. It looked like even though he'd skewered the zombie's throat to save the kid, he still hadn't been fast enough. Just as Liu Feng was about to break the news to Zhao Jia, a thick fog suddenly rolled in. The scene was identical to when the female monster showed up, making Liu Feng's skin crawl. And just as he feared, a moment later, the system blasted him with a red alert. It had detected a mutant zombie with an extreme danger level and was strongly advising an immediate retreat. However, it was already too late. When Liu Feng looked up, the zombie from the warning was already there. In the heat of the moment, Liu Feng suddenly grabbed Sarah's hand and shouted her name. He was on edge, but through her rose-colored glasses, it looked like her hero was about to confess his love. It got even worse when Liu Feng grabbed her by the waist, sending her heart into a frenzy. But obviously, there wasn't going to be any confession. After grabbing her waist, Liu Feng used all his strength to yank her close, narrowly dodging the mutant zombie's lunge. After neutralizing the immediate threat, he told her to get to his sister so they could watch each other's backs. Meanwhile, Liu Feng would handle the zombie himself, but you had to admit, this mutant zombie was no joke. Liu Feng attacked with everything he had, but the thing didn't even flinch, and when he smashed through a wall, he accidentally drew the attention of 2 more mutants. It seemed like out there, more and more of these mutants were popping up, but Liu Feng had no time to dwell on that. Sarah's terrified scream snapped him back to the present. No, don't. Get any closer! Shin Tong, don't be scared, I'll protect you. A zombie was closing in on the 2 girls. Sarah was freaking out, while Liu Xintong just stood there, completely dazed, as if she was frozen in fear. Honestly, every instinct told Sarah to run and save her own skin. But maybe because she'd already fallen for Liu Feng, she risked it all, pulling Liu Xintong into her arms, shielding the little girl with her own body. Just when Sarah thought she was about to be ripped to shreds by the zombie, a single shot echoed through the hall. The artist behind this masterpiece was none other than Li Xin. Looks like she managed to escape from the leech-like freaks on the lower floor by using her stealth cloak. You didn't forget about me, did you? Li Xin said with a grim look. But this was no time for wisecracks, because the 3 mutants up here were already more than enough to handle. And to make matters worse, the 2 from downstairs had already caught up. Liu Feng threw open the emergency exit, and the group scrambled out. As they fled, Li Xin revealed that her entire squad had been wiped out. Her luck was so bad it was almost a superpower. Not a single one of her teammates made it out alive. Now, Li Xin was on her own, with nothing but her cloak to count on. An invisibility cloak straight out of Harry Potter to get away. You got any ideas for these variants? Li Xin asked, her voice laced with panic. But honestly, Liu Feng was drawing a complete blank. Something was seriously off here. The system had specified only 1 variant per 100,000 people. But now 5 of them had popped up in the blink of an eye. He couldn't shake the feeling that these mutated zombies were different, but he just couldn't put his finger on it. They hadn't gotten far when the smell of smoke hit Liu Feng's nostrils, sending an icy shiver straight down his spine, paralyzed by fear. Before he could even make a move, the blonde variant cut off their escape and lunged for Zhao Hua, who was clinging to Zhao Jia's back. "Sister, save me!" The boy's terrified scream echoed through the air. But Liu Feng grabbed Zhao Jia, holding her back. He'd struggled with how to tell her before, but now the brutal truth was staring them right in the face. Her brother was already bitten. There was nothing they could do to save him. But then, Zhao Jia said something that hit Liu Feng like a ton of bricks. "If that was your sister, could you just stand there and watch?" Those words struck a nerve, hitting him right where it hurt. He froze for just a second, his grip slackening without him even realizing it, and that was all the time Zhao Jia needed. She tore free, sprinting toward her brother, who was now swarmed by zombies. She was running to her death. Watching this sister sacrifice herself for her brother, Liu Feng felt a surge of hatred for his own weakness like never before. The crackle of machine gun fire broke the moment as Li Xin yelled out, "Snap out of it! We need a plan to save the others, now!" Liu Feng was jolted back to reality, but the feeling of utter helplessness washed over him again. There was nothing he could do. And then, just as despair set in, an idea sparked in his mind. Liu Feng unleashed a massive fireball from his weapon, flooding the dark room with light. "I think I've found it. The real problem is right here." The sudden brightness exposed. A grotesque variant clinging to the ceiling, its tentacles plugged into the other 4 mutants, controlling their every move. "That's it! That's the puppet master!" Liu Feng shouted. "What? You're sure about this?" Li Xin questioned. Liu Feng gave a firm nod. His theory was that this thing was like a deep-sea anglerfish, using its tendrils to puppet the others, and as long as those connections, remained intact, the master couldn't be taken down. It explained why they saw so many variants. They were all just puppets for this one creature. At this point, Li Xin didn't care if he was right or wrong. In a mess like this, her only option was to trust Liu Feng. Without a moment's hesitation, the expert sharpshooter raised her weapon and took careful aim at the 4 tentacles the monster was using to control its puppets. Once she severed them, the other zombies crumpled like puppets with their strings cut, stumbling aimlessly before crashing to the floor. It was all the proof they needed that Liu Feng's theory was dead on, but the fight wasn't over. Realizing its plan was toast, the main creature instantly switched targets, going after the 2 who looked weakest, Sarah and Liu Jintong, who were huddled together and shaking. From this range, Li Xin couldn't provide cover fast enough. But while Sarah was definitely helpless, Liu Jintong was a whole other story. In a flash, she shot out from Sarah's arms and executed a perfect takedown maneuver. On the variant, it goes without saying, but everyone's jaw hit the floor. The creature went flying backward, slamming into the wall and sliding down in a heap. Asterisk, swish, asterisk. Suddenly, the sound of a blade cut through the air. A sword materialized out of thin air, skewering the creature's tentacles. The variant instantly erupted in flames, writhing in pure agony as a system notification window popped up. For every variant eliminated, the system awards 100 points. Liu Feng, the one who'd thrown the sword, was breathing hard, thinking to himself, asterisk. Finally took it down. Not bad, a point reward too, asterisk. He was so focused he didn't even notice the grim look on Li Xin's face as he casually offered his thanks. Appreciate the help. But in an instant, she raised her gun and pointed it directly at Liu Feng. A sinister smirk spread across Li Xin's face. Your sister. Her strength isn't normal. She's a variant, isn't she? She held 2 pistols, one trained on Liu Feng, the other covering the rest of the room. We may have been allies, but I'm afraid that's over. I'm sorry, but I have my orders. I'm taking your sister with me. Liu Feng was completely blindsided by this turn of events. Whoa, hold on, just listen to me. But Li Xin wasn't hearing any of it, her stance unwavering. Don't even think about it. I'll put you down before you can even twitch. Liu Feng tensed up, a bead of sweat tracing a path down his temple. No, Li Xin, that's not it. What I'm trying to say is, in a flash, Liu Feng pointed over at Sarah, who was already raising her hands in surrender. You've got the wrong person. The woman was shaking like a leaf, too scared to even breathe. Help me. The sheer terror was too much for her, and Sarah promptly fainted, her body slumping to the floor. Li Xin's face was a mask of confusion at the awkward mistake. Oh, crap. My lazy eye must be acting up again, she mumbled, completely oblivious to the pair of calculating eyes watching her, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Asterisk. This is my chance. Asterisk. The device on Liu Feng's hand flashed as the thought crossed his mind. The Kung Fu Master chip activated. He lunged, slapping Li Xin's pistol aside. But she was no slouch, instantly snapping back with a lightning-fast kick. But Liu Feng was quicker, dodging it with ease. Ha! He used the opening to snatch her other weapon. Suddenly disarmed, Li Xin faltered, a look of pure shock on her face. Asterisk. Damn it. His close-quarters combat asterisk. Asterisk is insane. Asterisk. Before she could recover, he had her in a chokehold, completely restrained. Why are you after my sister? He demanded. But the woman's lips were sealed, refusing to say a word. A soldier just follows. Orders. We don't ask questions. Liu Feng's voice was laced with fury. The government is a lost cause. And with that, he slammed her hard onto the ground. Ag! Just then, Sarah began to stir, her eyes fluttering open in a daze. What she walked in on was a man and a woman tangled up on the floor. Playing it up, Sarah faked covering her eyes. My, aren't we being forward? Li Xin was seeing red and was about to bring her rifle butt down on him. That son of a... In that dangerous split second, Liu Feng's instincts took over. He grabbed the woman and planted a kiss on her. Asterisk. Crap, I've got to shut her up first. Asterisk. Han Dong instantly lunged, grabbing her head to stop her, her eyes blazing with pure killing intent. Li Xin froze, her eyes widening in disbelief and irritation. Seeing things were about to get ugly, Sarah yelled to break it up. Stop! Both of you! Knock it off! I can. I know what's going on. Just like that, they all stopped dead in their tracks. Not even waiting for a reply, she immediately took the lead. This way, follow me. At a room marked 16F, they pushed the door open and stepped inside, only to find a zombie. It was the hospital director. Right as it lunged, a blade sliced clean through its skull. Sarah scrambled over to the computer keyboard and started typing. It's because I was the director's secretary. I overheard him talking with someone from the military, codenamed the Divine Child, about a research project. Got it. She gestured to the screen, which now displayed the files, and explained to the group. The Minister of Health, Zheng Tiansheng, commissioned my hospital for a research project. They were injecting a virus and a serum at the same time into the bodies of deceased black blood disease patients to create mutants. Several hundred people, who were part of the experiment, all perished. And as it turns out, your sister was scheduled for testing today. This is just twisted. Hearing that name, Li Xin was completely floored. What? Him again? Liu Feng caught her strange reaction and had to ask, "You know the guy?" She slammed her fist on the table, her voice dripping with contempt. "He's the pencil pusher who greenlit this whole operation. A damn bureaucrat. Who's got it coming to him?" Hearing that, Sarah quickly chimed in. "The survival rate for this project is less than 0.1%. I'm guessing your sister must have turned into some kind of special mutant, which is why she got Zheng Tiansheng's attention." Liu Feng glanced over at his sister, his face darkening as he muttered, "A mutant?" The scene from 10 minutes ago flashed in his mind, with his sister standing over the creature's corpse. "Han, let's move." But she didn't respond, instead kneeling down and rummaging through the body. All of a sudden, she pulled out a small chip from inside it. He knew it the second he saw it. That was a post-mutation chip. Han Dong's expression was completely blank as she suddenly opened her mouth. She tossed the chip inside and began to chew it like it was a piece of candy. Remembering it now, Liu Feng couldn't help but think, asterisk, are those even the actions of a human anymore? Asterisk, the memory sent a shiver down his spine. No time to dwell on it. Where's the central energy core? Instantly, a system prompt appeared, directing him to the safe right behind them. Liu Feng called out, "Sarah, you know the combo? For the director's safe?" She immediately chirped back, "Sure do." They got the safe open in no time, and another notification popped up. "Mission complete. Reward, 900 points. Liu Feng looked at their haul and let out a satisfied grin. "Haha, there it is." Sarah, completely clueless about the glowing green cube, had to ask, "What is that thing?" Liu Feng's gaze was locked on it. As he started to explain, "This is the central energy core. Sarah, Li Xin, I've got something to say to you both. Asterisk, their character seems solid enough. Asterisk." He then straightened up and made his pitch. "I have a shelter, a completely safe one. Sarah, you've got nowhere to go. And Li Xin, you know the truth now. You really think they won't punish you for it? Why don't you both come join my shelter? We can ride out this apocalypse together." Sarah was instantly on board with the idea. I'll join. It's not like I have any other options anyway." Getting one of them to agree so easily made Liu Feng's ego swell. He chuckled to himself. Asterisk, heh, all I have to do is turn on the charm and they all just fall in line, right? Asterisk. But his little power trip was cut short by a voice from behind him that shattered the fantasy. "I refuse." Li Xin stated it again, her voice firm. "I refuse." Liu Feng was taken aback, realizing this wasn't going to be a walk in the park. Asterisk. "So, it's not going to be that simple, huh?" Asterisk, she pulled the collar of her tight-fitting suit, the motion highlighting her formidable presence. Li Xin crossed her arms, looking down on him as she laid out her terms. "I need to investigate the truth of this matter myself. If what you say is true, then I will offer you an apology. But that doesn't mean I'm teaming up with you. Besides, even if the government collapses, I have the skills to survive this hellscape on my own." He started to panic, beads of sweat forming on his forehead as his mind raced. Asterisk. "Think, Liu Feng. Use your head and come up with something." Asterisk. Sarah, standing off to the side, was totally intimidated by her vibe, thinking, asterisk, "Whoa, this Li Xin chick is the real deal. What's Liu Feng gonna do now?" Asterisk. With a completely unreadable expression, he calmly replied, "You're not wrong. I'm just a kid." Then, in a flash, Liu Feng's entire demeanor changed. He growled, "But I've got a damn good reason that will make you join us." On the outside, he looked like he had it all figured out, but on the inside, he was screaming, asterisk, "Crap, what am I even saying?" Asterisk. I just pulled that out of thin air. His sudden confidence actually intrigued Li Xin. "Oh, this is interesting. I'll give you 5 seconds. Try anything funny, and I'll put a round right between your eyes." Liu Feng was so flustered he could barely think. 5 seconds? Oh man, what am I gonna do? Then his eyes fell on something else in the safe. Asterisk. Huh? Asterisk. There was a book in there too. A magazine inside showed a picture of Li Xin with someone named Li standing next to her. The caption read, "Former National Infiltration Investigator, Director of the LSB." That little piece of intel sparked an idea. Asterisk. Wait a second. A national investigator, and with Li Xin's background, if the system. Asterisk. Asterisk. Can pull this off then. I've got it. Asterisk. An image of her on a mission, focused and disciplined, flashed in his mind. Asterisk. An order is an order. A soldier's only duty is to obey. Asterisk. He discreetly pulled out a golden card. He did it all behind his back so nobody would see. His mind raced, cashing in points for an alloy ingot from the trade shop and instantly crafting it into a convincing ID card. Liu Feng then adopted an air of mystery. "Looks like the jig is up," he said, his eyes narrowing as he sold the lie with everything he had. "The truth is, I'm a special investigator dispatched by the government. I'm also the one heading up the Fire Seed Project. I'm responsible for establishing this doomsday shelter as humanity's last bastion of hope. But she wasn't buying it for a second, firing back, "You have got to be joking." Meanwhile, he had no idea that Sarah, who was standing behind him, saw right through his act and was trying to stifle a laugh. The whole story was just ridiculously flimsy. Undeterred, Liu Feng presented the freshly made fake ID. "Here's my identification. Scan it yourself." Li Xin didn't even hesitate, slapping it right on the scanner. The device lit up. "Scan successful. S-class agent. Identity confidential." But even with that, she was still skeptical. So what? A single ID card doesn't prove a thing. We're in the middle of an apocalypse. There's no way for me to verify this. Hearing that, Liu Feng knew he had her right where he wanted her. The bluff was working. He decided to double down, scoffing, So this is the best the Reaper Li Xin is capable of. All the while, his mind was screaming in panic. "Well, I'm in this deep, might as well go all the way." It was the first time anyone had ever dared to disrespect her like that. "What did you just say?" she growled, but he didn't flinch. And he just kept pushing the bluff. "The world has ended, and you're still just focused on saving your own skin. You're a soldier. Shouldn't you be the one stepping up to save mankind and restore order to this chaotic world?" The more he talked, the more he freaked out internally. "Man, what is coming out of my mouth? This is getting crazier by the second." Liu Feng could feel the sweat beating on his forehead, but he knew he had to see it. All the way through. With a defeatist attitude like that, do you even deserve to call yourself a soldier? He felt like his brain was running on fumes. "I'm screwed. I'm totally screwed. What do I say now?" Just then, Li Xin's eyes went wide with a strange mix of shock and outrage. Convinced he'd blown it, Liu Feng hung his head, bracing for the worst as she placed a hand on his shoulder. "Damn, I really thought she was about to pulverize me," he thought, but instead, she flashed a brilliant smile. Well said. The sudden 180-degree turn in her attitude completely threw him off. "Huh? What the hell is happening?" Li Xin gazed up at the sky, her hardened expression softening just a bit. "As a soldier, I suppose I really should be doing something for humanity." She was actually smiling, a complete flip from her earlier hostility. "Besides," she added, "the fact that you had the guts to invite me, the Reaper, Li Xin, to join your team, that actually impressed me." Liu Feng was completely lost. Is that a big deal or something?" Li Xin actually blushed, looking away shyly. "Well, everyone who's ever been my teammate has had a nasty habit of not surviving. But you not only dared to kiss me, you asked me to join you. I really hope you can manage to stick around for a while." Her confession left him absolutely floored. "Huh?" Just then, a new mission alert flashed on his panel. 2 teammates have joined the shelter. Reputation +10. First-time teammate unlock bonus, 200 points. Teammate skills are now viewable on the system screen. Liu Feng was at a total loss for words, a single drop of sweat trickling down his temple as he thought, so she's the legendary bad luck charm teammate. Why, oh why, do I suddenly feel like the future of this shelter is in mortal peril? The system immediately displayed the profiles of his 2 new recruits, complete with evaluations. First was Sarah, a gorgeous secretary, the kind every boss dreams of. Seriously, shouldn't you be putting her on private duty? Next up, Li Xin, a hardened warrior, forged in a mountain of corpses and a sea of blood. You'd better be durable, because every single one of her former teammates ended up 6 feet under. Arriving at the research cafeteria on the 16th floor, they found everyone else already digging in. Liu Feng couldn't help but be impressed. "Sarah, how on earth did you find this place?" In his mind, he was already processing their stat cards. "This secretary, Sarah, is unbelievable, and Li Xin has AA stats." Sarah just smiled warmly and explained, "This is the food storage area for the 16th floor research department. The head chef went back to his hometown for his wedding and left me the key for safekeeping. Just as I thought, the place is still fully stocked. Since I've decided to join the shelter, I figured I should make a contribution, right?" Liu Feng discreetly pulled up her character profile again, noticing a nickname system. "What the hell is with this Reaper title? I'm not going to get myself offed, am I?" Then, he spotted some green text. Mood. Normal. What's this green mood indicator all about? He wondered. Could it be? As if on cue, the system provided an explanation. When the mood indicator is green, it signifies the individual has positive intentions toward the shelter. When the indicator is red, it signifies the individual has hostile intentions. Armed with this new intel, Liu Feng stroked his chin. So, he thought, it looks like I can use this system to root out anyone with hidden agendas, even spies. Just then, his little sister, Xin Tong, popped up beside him, happily sipping from a carton of milk. "Oh, you're drinking milk, Xin Tong. I see you still have your old favorite habit." A memory surfaced in Liu Feng's mind. "I remember how much she loved the milk from our neighbor, Auntie Shu Yan. I wonder if she's still alive? If I ever get the chance, I've got to go back." and check on her. He pictured the kind woman holding out a carton of milk, saying, Xin Tong, here's your milk. Without a moment's hesitation, Liu Feng commanded, System, pull up Xin Tong's information. Instantly, her info card materialized. Mood, unknown. Skills, unknown. Evaluation, a mutant whose evolutionary process was halted midstream. Had her evolution completed, what a terrifying creature she might have become. But the system added, is gaining such power worth losing one's humanity? The cryptic details immediately put him on edge. This is weird. The system can't get a read on her. Is it because she's not fully unlocked yet? Mood, unknown. Why do these stats make it seem like my own sister is even more powerful than I am? Suddenly, Liu Feng's eyes shot wide open as he realized whose turn it was next. His own information flashed onto the screen. Points, 1,600. Master, Liu Feng. Level 4. Reputation, Apocalypse Refugee. Level 1. Title, Shelter Leader. Population, 4 out of 10. Objective, construct a 10,000-person shelter. Progress, 0.04%. Stats, Strength C+, Endurance B, Intellect C, Charisma C. Shelter, Level 1. Critical infrastructure, all systems offline. He couldn't help but crack a smile reading the update. 2 level ups in one go. That mission and taking out those mutants really paid off with a ton of rewards. Looks like it's time for a major power-up, Liu Feng thought, then commanded the system, redeem the blueprints for the water pump room, the cafeteria, and the sleeping quarters. Construct them immediately. Oh, one more thing. System, he asked. If I get the cafeteria, is the food free? The system's reply was blunt. Negative. Sustenance must be earned. User. The cafeteria only handles food preparation. All ingredients must be acquired through the trade hub, or self-supplied. The system's response hit him like a ton of bricks. What a ripoff. Still, he figured his current earnings could cover the food for now. Just then, Sarah's voice cut through the air, jolting him from his thoughts. Chief, she called out, beaming as she pointed to her haul. I found that rebar and plastic sheeting you wanted. There's a whole bunch of it. He glanced over at the supplies, a satisfied grin spreading across his face. Nice work, he said. Bolstered by his praise, Sarah pressed on. Chief, I know what you're up to. You're building a greenhouse, aren't you? I'm right, right? Her sharp guess made Liu Feng start to sweat. Just then, Li Xin chimed in from behind him. Not bad. I guess you're not totally dense after all. She dropped 2 heavy bags of soil on the ground, having already figured out he was building a greenhouse from the materials he'd asked for. I did some scouting and found these vegetable seeds should be perfect for your little project. Looks like you might actually know what you're doing. He shot back a smirk, playing along with her assessment. Sharp, exactly what I'd expect from my crew. Only someone with your smarts is fit to join my shelter. Unimpressed by the flattery, Li Xin just started walking. All right, let's go. Show us this shelter of yours. Liu Feng quickly nodded and waved them on. You got it. Right behind you. As soon as they were ahead of him, he groaned internally. Man, all I wanted was to build a bed for Xin Tong. How are these two so perceptive? Is this what it's like dealing with people who have an intellect stat of B or higher? Sarah and Li Xin stopped dead in their tracks, completely dumbfounded. Chief, is this the underground city you were talking about? All they saw was a tiny hole in the ground, barely big enough to squeeze through. Liu Feng scrambled for an excuse. Yeah. This is just the service entrance. The main gate is blocked by a rock slide. Come on, let's just get inside. Li Xin let out a skeptical scoff, seriously questioning her decision to follow him as they all began to crawl into the opening. Li Xin went in first, muttering sarcastically. You sure this shelter isn't just some dusty old root cellar? He stammered awkwardly. No, of course not. But as Sarah emerged on the other side, she gasped in surprise. It's huge! I was expecting a tiny little basement room, Sarah whispered. Next to her, Li Xin was equally stunned. I would have been impressed with a simple cellar. The truth was, even Liu Feng had no idea what was going on. He was probably more shocked than both of them combined. How? How is this possible? The shelter was less than a day old, and it had already doubled in size and sprouted 2 new doors. As if on cue, the system chimed in with an answer. Construction of the dining hall, water pump room, and sleeping quarters is complete. A designated construction site is required for the power station blueprint. He quickly collected himself, slipping back into his role as the confident leader for the girls. Allow me to give you the grand tour of the shelter, he announced with a flourish. My entire underground city is constructed and managed by a sophisticated AI. To the left, you'll find the sleeping quarters. In the center is the water pump room, and to the right is the dining hall. He led them into the first room, elaborating, This is our cafeteria. Just provide the AI with any raw ingredients, and it can whip up any dish you want, or process them into long-lasting rations. The system's database contains basically every recipe known to man. He then guided them to the next door. And this is our water supply, the pump room. It's one of the absolute lifelines of this entire shelter. Once we get the power running, it'll provide fresh water on demand. Next, Liu Feng showed them the living area. These are the sleeping quarters, complete with a full bathroom. Get the power on, and we'll have hot water 24/7. For the time being, this area can house up to 10 people. At the mention of hot water, Sarah's eyes went wide with excitement. Wow, hot water! Chief, you have to get that power center working, like, right now. They continued on until they came to a sealed door, where he keyed in a password. The door hissed open, and the four of them stepped through into a mess of rubble and dirt. This, was where her vice captain single-handedly caved in the main corridor. As the words left his mouth, Liu Feng felt a pang of guilt. Sorry, vice captain, he thought. Gotta pin this one on you. It's not like you can argue. Li Xin stepped past him, ready for the task. I'll handle this. A panel on her uniform's forearm slid open, revealing a strange, compact device. Liu Feng had never seen anything like it. What is that thing? He asked. She just gave him a cryptic look. You'll see. With that, she carefully placed the device onto the pile of debris. They all quickly retreated back the way they came. A moment later, a deafening blast rocked the corridor, and the shockwave washed over them. The explosion had completely cleared a path through the rubble. Only then did Li Xin explain, "It's a specialized breaching charge. Let's move." Liu Feng stared in awe at the power of the blast. Whoa! It punched a clean hole right through. As they began to file through the new opening, Li Xin scanned the area. All the infected on this level had already been dealt with. The immediate vicinity of the shelter must be secure. Soon, they arrived at a small utility room. "This is it," he announced. "Li Xin, can you stand watch outside?" Without a moment's hesitation, she replied, "Got it." Inside, Liu Feng got to work, diligently modifying and repairing the machinery. After a few moments, the machine whirred to life and produced a small cube. "Yes, it's done!" he cheered. Right on cue, a notification flashed in his vision. Shelter architecture. Level 1, construction complete. Shelter is now eligible for upgrade to Level 2. The news sent a jolt of excitement through him. Awesome! Meanwhile, back in the new bathroom, Sarah let out a sigh of pure bliss as she soaked in the hot water. Whoa! As she washed her hair, Li Xin dropped her usual icy demeanor, her face lighting up with pure joy. Hot water is seriously the ultimate morale booster in this apocalypse. The girl next to her couldn't agree more. You got that right. We owe the director big time for this. Liu Feng was at his desk as the system initiated the shelter's Level 2 upgrade. At his command, the notification screen materialized again. The upgrade requires 6 days and 5 hours. Upon completion, the shelter's power reserves will last for 4 months. A new energy source must be secured. It then detailed the new unlocks: 4 new maps, a transport room, a med bay, a combat gear research lab, and firearms development. A massive grin spread across Liu Feng's face. This is insane. We're getting firearms research and a freaking transport portal. Finally done with their showers, Sarah, wrapped in a towel, couldn't help but compliment Li Xin. Damn, Li Xin, you're seriously stacked. I'm so jealous. Flattered, Li Xin coolly replied. You're not exactly lacking yourself, Secretary Sarah. I still can't believe we're getting hot showers in the middle of all this. Let's get a move on. Liu Feng's probably been waiting forever. But as Li Xin reached for her clothes, her happy mood vanished when she noticed something was off. This place even provides uniforms? How considerate. Hey! A shrill scream ripped through the air, making him jump. Ah! She stood off to the side, shivering as she tried to cover herself. You've got to be kidding me. You're a total perv. Why is this uniform so ridiculously short? Sarah, trying to hide herself, chimed in. Yeah, this feels a little weird. Blindsided by the accusation, Liu Feng blushed as he took in their 2 stunning figures, but on the inside, he was loving it. He mentally pinged the system. Heh, system, what's the deal with these outfits? A screen popped up with the answer. Designed based on subconscious imagery from the user's mind. Li Xin proceeded to give this director a lesson he wouldn't be forgetting anytime soon. Humph, I'm letting you slide this time, but don't think you'll be so lucky again. Her punch left a solid lump on his head. Wincing, Liu Feng decided to just power through it. All right, now let's start. Our strategy meeting. Sarah, you're up. The curvy secretary held up a sheet of paper and began her report. Ahem. From our last supply run, we secured enough food for 4 weeks. 65 cans of food, 2 bags of rice. If we ration it carefully, we can make it last a month. Our water supply is stable. Therefore, our top priority is acquiring more food. Second priority, locating a new power source. After hearing the report, Li Xin added her 2 cents. For food and power, we can scout the area a few kilometers out. We should be good on medical supplies for now, since we cleaned out that hospital. Sarah then turned to him for his input. Director, Is there anything you'd like to add? Her competence was so impressive it almost made his head spin. It felt incredible having his own team reporting to him. They had already helped him map everything out. On the outside, though, he kept a straight face and continued, Ahem, that's a solid summary, but just scavenging for food isn't a long-term solution. With that, he shot to his feet. Follow me. Liu Feng led them to a different section of the shelter, his two capable lieutenants right behind him. I mentioned the greenhouse project before. I'm planning to build it right here in the water supply room. There's more than enough space. Li Xin crossed her arms, asking coolly, So, is there anything you need us to do? Sarah, however, was practically beaming with praise. Your foresight is amazing, Director. I'm seriously impressed. He shot back a smug grin. You don't have to look so starstruck, you know? Without missing a beat, Liu Feng commanded loudly. System, construct the greenhouse. A screen appeared with a status update. Missing materials, grow lights, nutrient solution, and hydroponic equipment. Requires a deduction of 100 points for purchase. Confirm? He didn't hesitate. Confirm. The second he said it, two robotic arms materialized from thin air. They swiftly and automatically grabbed two support beams. Then, even more arms appeared, taking the beams to assemble the frame. At the same time, a notification popped up. Greenhouse construction will be complete in 2 days. Greenhouse map unlocked. Li Xin stared in awe, whispering, That's unreal. She glanced over at Liu Feng, thinking to herself, This tech is way beyond anything the military has. I guess his story really does check out. Meanwhile, in a grimy alley outside the hospital, Li Huang, on the verge of turning, was shaking violently and pleading for his life. A cruel voice echoed through the alley. Ha ha ha, don't even think about running. A woman named Toxin pinned the old man to the ground and casually held up a photo. I'm gonna ask you something. You ever seen the woman in this picture? The old man could only whimper. Help me! Please, don't kill me! Toxin stomped on his knee, repeating the question. Have you seen this woman? Terrified, Li Huang stammered. No, I've never seen her before. She looked down at the man's pathetic state and sneered. Heh, about to turn, are you? The old man kept begging, his voice cracking. Save me! I'm rich! I have a lot of money! If you save me, I'll give you anything. For some reason, that just set Toxin off. What? You have money? She turned to her goon and snatched his club. Gimme that. Toxin then brought the club down hard on Li Huang's chin, making him scream in agony. You have money? She started wailing on him, not caring if he lived or died. All you rich pigs! Li Huang's face was beaten into a swollen mess as he was forced to listen to her rant. Do you have any clue what people like us had to do just to get by? Toxin let out a bitter, sharp laugh as she unleashed all her pent-up rage. We, the poor, were crushed by your kind, forced to live like rats in the subway tunnels. You all called us subway dogs, right? I bet you never saw this coming. When the virus hit, we, the chipless subway dogs, actually managed to dodge the worst of it. With that, she raised the club high and brought it down on his head. The rich all deserve to die. After Toxin was done venting, her henchman finally spoke up. Boss, that guy, Zheng Tiancheng, is offering a massive stash of supplies as a reward for finding the woman in this photo. Toxin spat, her voice dripping with venom. I know, but that whole crew is no better. The world's changed. This is our time now, and we, the Subway Dog Tribe, are gonna wipe out every last one of those bastards, the elite, who stood at the very top of this post-apocalyptic world. His declaration was so absolute that not a single person dared to object. Later that night in the shelter, everyone was dead to the world, except for Liu Feng, who was tossing and turning restlessly. It's here. He squeezed his eyes shut, but he wasn't trying to sleep. His mind was racing. This was his very first night in the shelter, and the tension was practically suffocating. As these thoughts swirled, Liu Feng's eyes shot open, his face flushing beet red as he realized he was facing the single greatest threat he'd ever known. He glanced over at the two girls sleeping peacefully, and his heart hammered against his ribs. This was the first time in his entire life he'd ever shared a room with girls. Although he'd had a girlfriend before, they'd never even made it past first base. It was the undeniable mark of a total rookie. Liu Feng shut his eyes again, trying to think about the future. Anything to get his mind off the current situation. System, run me through the new features of the upgraded shelter. The system interface instantly materialized. Upon reaching level 2, the shelter will automatically expand. All level 1 structures will automatically upgrade, and the following new facilities will be added. A level 1 greenhouse, level 1 combat uniform crafting, a level 1 treatment room, a level 1 transport gate, and level 1 gun crafting. So engrossed was he that he never noticed Sarah getting up and quietly stepping away from her bed as the system continued. The gun crafting facility requires elite apocalypse prestige for purchase. The treatment room can cure diseases and, provided it's stocked with resources, can automatically produce medical supplies daily. He was still completely oblivious, locked onto the data scrolling before him. So to make guns, I need prestige. Looks like I'm going to have to recruit more people. Another notification popped up. Remodeling skill upgraded to level 2, adding destructive force, paralysis, acceleration, fortification, and a 5% charm effect. That last part really caught Liu Feng's attention. Charm effect? Just then, he realized Sarah was standing behind him, having silently removed her clothes. A cold sweat trickled down his spine as he finally noticed her. Ah! She began to walk toward him, and Liu Feng's panic went into overdrive. Whoa, hold on. What is happening right now? Why is Secretary Sarah taking her clothes off? Right, her attitude toward me is total reverence. Did the system somehow read my mind and decide to mess with me? The stronger your rapport with others, the higher the probability of special events occurring. She lifted the blanket to his bed, but he was frozen solid, his mind screaming. If I make a sound, I'll wake up Li Hin, and she'll think I'm some kind of creep. Suddenly, Liu Feng flinched as a new reality hit him like a freight train. Wait a second, she's actually in my bed, and her arms are wrapping around me. The incredibly real sensation sent his inexperienced mind into a total tailspin. Sarah, you're in my bed. What's going on? Her warm breath against his ear made Liu Feng's face burn with embarrassment. Secretary, Sarah, we've only known each other for a single day. Not to mention, the soft pressure of her chest was now firmly against his back. This feeling, this contact. Liu Feng waited, but he couldn't take it anymore and turned around. Sarah, wait, she's... As it turned out, Sarah was still sound asleep. Liu Feng was floored, realizing he'd gotten this completely wrong. Wait, this is sleepwalking. I can't believe Sarah's a sleepwalker, and I can't. Wake her up, or Li Hin will wake up too, and I'll be totally screwed. His brain kicked into high gear, scrambling for a solution. What am I supposed to do? The night dragged on just like that, and by the next day, in the shelter's sleeping quarters, Liu Feng was sporting dark circles under his eyes that made him look like a panda, his thoughts still a complete mess. We are never, ever going to speak of what happened last night. I can't let them find out. He did his best to pull himself together and focus on the mission. System, I want to test the charm effect from the new remodeling skill. Liu Feng pulled out a few bullets, figuring he'd have to use the explosive material Li Hin had salvaged from the blast site for this test. Unfortunately, the gun itself had been destroyed in the explosion. Without hesitating, he picked up a bullet and channeled his remodeling power. The system chimed, 2 power points consumed. Bullet has gained an explosive effect. Seeing this, he mused, 2 points. The remodeling ability's cost is definitely tied to my physical stats. Liu Feng thought for a second and made up his mind. I'm lacking any long-range attacks, so maybe I can level up my throwing skill. I remember I have a talent for coordinating with thrown weapons. Current talent points, 4. Attribute points, 2. Perception increases thrown weapon proficiency. After quickly scanning the data, he confirmed his plan. Yep, this perception talent is a perfect match for me. With that settled, Liu Feng issued the commands, System, put 1 talent point into perception, 3 points into the Kung Fu Master chip, and dump all attribute points into strength. A new information panel flashed into view. Congratulations, strength has increased to B rank. When an attribute point is increased, a special selection is triggered. Random reward selection. A. Melee attack speed. Plus 5%. B. Melee damage plus 5%. C. Stationary attack damage plus 20%. D. Kung Fu Master gauntlets. Liu Feng's attributes. Strength C+ to B-, Endurance B-, Agility B, Intelligence C-, Charm C. Liu Feng stared at the screen, a wide grin spreading across his face. Ha! A random reward selection. Suddenly, his eyes went wide with shock. Wait, it's purple. System, is the color purple a fixed rarity tier? The screen quickly provided an answer. There is a 5% chance for a purple reward, a 1% chance for orange, and red is currently unknown. He made his choice instantly. Looks like my luck is holding up. I choose D. Abruptly, a searing pain, like a massive jolt of electricity, shot through his hand as a message displayed. Host has chosen D. The Kung Fu Master chip has been upgraded to the Kung Fu Master gauntlets. Liu Feng was completely blindsided by this development. What? All at once, his hands felt like they weren't his own, seized by an agonizing pain. It hurt so much. He instinctively swung his fist into the wall, which buckled with a loud crunch. Ah! When Liu Feng finally opened his eyes, he noticed something was different. His once trembling hand was now encased in a complex piece of machinery. This attribute is insane. The system displayed the item's info. Master Kung Fu Gauntlet. 3 slots, strength boost, and a metal-attracting magnetic force. He was still reeling from his new power when his phone buzzed. New delivery order received. Please review. His focus snapped right to the notification. A delivery order, huh? A woman's voice came through on the other end. 9527. Good thing I still have your ID number memorized. Liu Feng was clueless, drawing a total blank on who was calling. Hello? Who is this? Hundreds of miles away, Callie was in a desperate sprint, trying to shake a horde of zombies. It's Callie. You're the only person I can reach right now. Can you come get me? I really need your help. A massive eagle cut through the sky, soaring high above the burning city. Li Xin, noticing he'd been still for a moment, looked up and blurted out, "Whoa! They've got eagles in the city now?" For some reason, Liu Feng, who was right beside her, had a dead serious look on his face. A thought sparked in his head, and the suit automatically began scanning for the chip. He completely tuned her out, lost in his own world. This was going to be a two-person job, just him and Li Xin. The memories came rushing back. An image of his sister, laid up in bed and gravely ill, flashed through his mind. How long has Xin Tong been out like this? Sarah approached slowly, a clipboard in her hand. For a full day now. I found her like this yesterday afternoon. Just then, the system interface popped up. Consumption of variant essence has initiated your sister's evolution. Immediate shelter upgrade to level 5 required. Li Xin suddenly mentioned the person she'd just been looking into. That woman, Callie, who called you. There's more to her than meets the eye. She's a top operator for the Li Tian group, and not too long ago, she was engaged to Zheng Tiansheng. It was most likely a strategic merger. Liu Feng was genuinely shocked to hear that. What? They were a thing? Sarah carefully pieced together the information and finally laid out a plan. She's a few miles out from the shopping center. If we head out to rescue her, we can stock up on some supplies while we're at it. Li Xian stood with her arms crossed, her gaze locked and determined as she agreed. I say we go get her. We might be able to dig up more intel on Zheng Tiansheng. The mission board updated simultaneously. Mission selection, 1. Supply run, 92% survival rate. Reward, 1,000 points. 2. Supply run and recruit Callie to the shelter. 30% survival rate. Reward, 5,200 points. His expression hardened as he thought, another choice-based mission. The memory faded, and he took off after Li Xin. Xin Tong, just hang on. Heading out to the target, Callie. They reached what was once a bustling district, now an empty, zombie-infested wasteland. He moved with caution, his eyes constantly sweeping the area. The whole scene was grim, with a bicycle lying abandoned in a pool of dried blood. One house even had the body of someone who'd turned sprawled out on the floor. As they moved down the street, Li Xin suddenly threw up a hand, signaling them to stop. Hold up. She warned that their way forward was compromised. It's crawling with zombies up ahead. Trying to sneak through like this is taking forever. Liu Feng took a swig of water, trying to work out a new strategy. So, why'd you leave the stealth suit behind? Li Xin was also catching her breath. She explained quietly. That suit has a government-issued tracking chip. I brought it inside the shelter's signal jamming field. Once the signal dropped, the government would just assume I was Kia. He suddenly remembered something and pulled out a piece of gear. That's right. I modded this magazine with some high-impact explosive rounds, so handle it with care. She looked a little surprised at its design. Explosive rounds? Li Xin didn't press for details and just clipped the magazine to her hip. Thanks, Liu Feng. Meanwhile, Liu Feng was running a mental inventory of his own gear. Okay, besides the flame blade and the assassin's bolt, I've got the explosive throwing knives and the magnetic gauntlets. The explosive throwing knives can be remotely detonated, and the magnetic gauntlets can manipulate up to 88 pounds of metal. He rested his chin on his hand, thinking hard. Looks like I need to grind out more energy to rack up points. Li Xin caught his pensive look and glanced over. We're moving out in 2. Got it? Yeah. She stepped closer and gave him a playful nudge. Hey, my eyes are up here. Or are you enjoying the view down there? Guess our fearless leader is still just a kid at heart. Her teasing tone jolted Liu Feng out of his thoughts. Huh? Li Xin then casually flicked the strap on her thigh holster, letting it snap back with a smirk. What, you got a thing for thigh holsters or something? Her sudden move made Liu Feng's face flush red. What? Flustered, he tried to play it cool and waved his hand dismissively. Just cut it out. I've got an idea to get us there, and fast, he said, nodding toward a nearby vehicle. We can hotwire that car and get moving. Li Xin was not sold on the plan. Smashing the window will make way too much noise and will just bring that whole horde down on us. But Liu Feng was determined. There's gotta be another way. The two of them crept cautiously towards the vehicle, where he spotted a zombie's corpse slumped over in the driver's seat. Not seeing his plan, she reached out to pull him back. The car's locked. Let's just find another one. Liu Feng calmly reassured her. It's cool. Then, he lifted his newly upgraded gauntlets. Just watch this. One tiny device floated into the zombie's jacket pocket as another latched onto the car's ceiling. Li Xin couldn't hide her surprise at the slick new gadget. Not bad. I didn't know you had a trick like that up your sleeve. Liu Feng glanced up, a proud smirk on his face. These gauntlets are seriously awesome. A second later, his blade shot out, piercing the zombie's skull inside the car. They yanked the body out, jumped in, and tore off down the street. The car slammed through hordes of zombies, even ripping some of them clean in half. Crash! Bang! Li Xin was at the wheel, absolutely loving the chaos. Did you see that, Liu Feng? I totally wrecked him! He was glued to the passenger seat, his face a mask of terror against the window. Could you maybe drive a little less like a maniac? But she just let out a wild laugh. Haha, this is incredible. Seeing how thrilled she was, Liu Feng decided it was a good time to talk. Hey, Li Xin, he started. It seems like you've really loosened up and gotten more comfortable since joining the shelter. Riding the high, Li Xin began to open up about her past. Back with my old squad. Back in Special Forces, we dealt with the absolute worst of humanity every single day. Being out of that life, it feels like I can finally breathe again, you know, for my own sanity. With that, she flashed a genuinely content smile and added, you better stick around a while longer. Right, Captain. There was an intensity in Li Jin's gaze that made him completely flustered, forcing him to look away. Her. His eyes darted to the side, and through the grimy glass, Liu Feng saw it a walker bearing a maw of blood-caked fangs. This thing was nothing like the others. It was several times more deformed, a truly nightmarish figure that sent an icy dread through his veins. The horrifying truth dawned on him. They were evolving. Across the mall, a heavy, rhythmic banging started against a fortified door. Crack! With a splintering groan, the door buckled, and a dead arm clawed through the gap. Callie glanced at a nearby window, her stomach dropping when she saw a network of cracks spreading across it. A terrible feeling washed over her. A second later, the glass door exploded into 1,000 pieces. The dead began pouring in like a flood, and the window was about to give way completely. Elsewhere in the supermarket, a single ray of sunlight cut through the gloom. A walker snarled, its jagged teeth on full display as it hunted for fresh meat. It locked onto Callie, reaching for her. With its gore-stained hands, she was trapped against a wall, a total dead end. Is this it? The creature lunged. Paralyzed by fear, Callie squeezed her eyes shut, ready for the end. But out of nowhere came the sickening crunch of a heavy bat smashing into the walker's skull. A group of battle-hardened survivors stormed into the room, cutting down the undead with ruthless efficiency. Da Qiang, a man built like a truck, looked at her with concern. Miss, are you hurt? We gotta get you out of here now. Callie was still reeling, unable to process what was happening. Who are you? She whispered. Without a word, they pulled her to her feet and dragged her away from the immediate danger. 2 other members of their crew were already moving to secure the breach. They threw all their weight into forcing the door shut, trapping the horde outside. In a flash, one of them jammed a baseball bat under the handle. Quick, find something to barricade it. Callie, saved just in the nick of time, was overwhelmed with relief. Thank you all, for saving me. No problem. And you are? The group gave their names in quick succession. Da Qiang, I was head of security. I'm a student. Le Si. Hey there, beautiful. Name's Xiao Sun, also from security. Hello. We're the survivors holding out in this supermarket. I'm Police Chief Luo Yi. Seeing that these people were her rescuers, she let her guard down. My name is Callie. Thank you again for saving my life. Whew. I knew someone else had to be in this place. We finally found you. Luo Yi wiped the sweat from his brow. His curiosity piqued. Oh yeah? What made you so sure? Recalling the terrifying chase, Callie explained the whole situation. Right when those things showed up, my car died. I managed to lose a few of them and just ran for it, ending up here. The front of this place is a fortress, with heavy barricades and almost no walkers around. So I figured somebody had to have already cleared this zone. As she spoke, she remembered sprinting toward the building and seeing that every single entrance was sealed shut by heavy, roll-down security gates, which confirmed someone was inside. A sharp, calculating glint flashed in her eyes. Looks like my bet paid off. Luo Yi saw the look on her face and knew this woman was anything but helpless. He thought to himself, these rich types, they're never simple. He quickly changed the subject, pointing down a corridor. Let's get back to our base camp and figure out our next move. It's in the main shopping center. Other survivors were waiting there, including a teenage girl in a school uniform. Her name was Xiao Yi, and she rushed over immediately. Did you find any food? Behind her, Grandma Jin approached with a slow, deliberate pace, leaning on a cane with a gentle smile. Oh dear, officer, are you all right? A pregnant woman named Yi Hua also looked on with a worried expression. Luo Yi, are you hurt? Her husband, Xiao Zhao, asked, standing beside her with his hands on his hips. It's good to have you back safe. Luo Yi scratched his head, forcing a reassuring smile. Ha, we found a good haul, enough to last us for at least a few days. While they talked, Callie was silently scanning the group, assessing the power dynamics. An old woman, a pregnant woman, a cop. He's armed. They seem like good people, for the most part. But then Xiao Yi's gaze landed on the stranger, and her face soured. Who's this, Luo Yi? Callie smiled professionally and introduced herself. My name is Callie, CEO of the Litian Group. Thank you all for taking me in. At the name, Xiao Zhao's eyes went wide as saucers, and he pointed a trembling finger at her, completely stunned. No way, I know you. You're one of the top 10 female CEOs on the Fox list. Yihua was floored by the news of her identity. Wow, a real entrepreneur? Luo Yi was just as shocked to find out who she was. So it was really her. But unlike the others' excitement, Xiao Yi just shot her a nasty glare. Humph, just what we need, another pretty face. Suddenly, a sneering voice cut in. Well, isn't this a party? A young man sauntered over, scraping the tip of a knife along the wall. Hey, looks like we got a new toy. The man was Zhang San, an escaped convict. So you found some grub, did ya? His eyes then fell on Callie, and his whole demeanor shifted into a disgusting, predatory leer. Whoa, now there's a sight for sore eyes. Without hesitating, Zhang San pulled something from his pocket. It was a single can of food. Hey there, beautiful. He crudely snaked his other hand around her waist. How about you and I work out a little deal? He gave her a shameless, greasy smile, making his vile intentions perfectly clear. This can of food is yours, if you keep me warm for one night. But she was nobody's victim. The sharp crack of her palm connecting with his cheek echoed through the room. Callie contemptuously wiped her hand clean and stared down at him with ice in her eyes. Get your filthy hands off me. You touch me again, and I'll break them. Zhang San's face contorted with pure rage. You little witch! He started to lunge, but froze instantly when the cold, round barrel of a pistol was pressed firmly against his head. Luo Yi's face was grim. Zhang San, that's enough. I'm still a cop in this messed up world, and don't think for a second I don't know you're an escaped con from the prison down the road. The sight of the gun made Zhang San shrink back, sweating bullets. Whoa there. Officer Luo, take it easy. I was just joking around. Luo Yi kept the gun trained on him. Put the food down. If you want to eat, you'll go out on runs and kill walkers like the rest of us. Callie watched it all unfold, making a cold calculation. Looks like this group has threats from the inside, too. Even a cop is just one man with a gun. I need to figure out how to guarantee my own survival here. After the confrontation died down, Luo Yi turned to her with an apologetic look. Sorry you had to see that, Callie. She didn't want to dwell on the ugliness, deciding instead to make her move. I have extensive experience in logistics. You can put me in charge of managing the food supplies. Hearing this practical offer, one of the more welcoming survivors came over to greet her properly. Hey, welcome. The others were pretty friendly too. They all hit it off right away, chatting it up, completely oblivious to Truong Tam spying on them from the shadows. He flashed a creepy smile, clearly up to something. Guess we'll find out soon enough. Elsewhere, a pair of desperate eyes scanned the area, followed by the sound of ragged breaths and pounding feet. Huff, huff. Meet OB, another survivor, hauling his wounded buddy on his back, desperately fleeing the horde of freaks hot on their tail. Since when did these things get so damn fast? They're gaining on us. He was losing it, cold sweat dripping down his face with every panicked thought. Is this how it ends? No, that can't be it. I had my fortune read. The words of some old fortune teller echoed in his head. When you're in deep trouble, a savior in red will appear to rescue you. OB's eyes darted to the wall. And what do you know? A zombie in a red shirt was lunging right for them. He just stared at the scene, totally helpless. A savior in red. You mean a damn zombie? Hawk Van rushed in from behind, swinging a club to help out. OB hit the deck. He brought the club down hard on the zombie's skull, but the thing didn't even flinch. It just got angrier, lunging at him with even more fury, and he let out a terrified scream. Ah! In that split second between life and death, Liu Feng descended like a godsend, bringing his blade down in a clean arc that split the zombie. Now this times was OB's real savior in red. Liu Feng's face was practically glowing, shining like some kind of avenging angel. In the middle of all that chaos, OB stared at him, realizing this had to be the guy the old fortune teller was talking about, the savior in red. Hearing that, Liu Feng glanced down at his own red gear and froze for a second. Suddenly, the guy latched onto his leg, which caught him completely off guard. Hey! But OB just kept shouting, my savior! Liu Feng didn't let the distraction break his focus, staying on high alert. Just then, his instincts screamed, warning him of a threat from behind. It was one of those long-armed freaks, about to pounce on Liu Feng. He instantly snatched a throwing knife and whipped it straight at the creature. The impact was immediate, its head just popped. Liu Feng's eyes widened. Damn, that worked well. But while he was processing that, OB was frozen in terror by the carnage around them. The dead were swarming the living, ripping them to shreds, and the air was filled with blood-curdling screams. Ah! It was complete and utter chaos. Zombies were mindlessly feasting on anyone they caught, while the few survivors left scrambled to drag the wounded to safety. A desperate voice screamed out, Obi, get out of here! He looked toward the sound, just in time to see a zombie chowing down on someone he knew. He screamed in horror. No! Old lie! The horde was growing, relentlessly closing in on the last of the humans. Liu Feng sized up the situation on the fly. These things have definitely evolved in the last few days. He charged back into the fray, yelling for Lai Hin, and she was right there to back him up. I'm on it. Right after, Lai Hin sent a zombie flying with a vicious kick to clear her path. Get out of my way! Another one was still glued to his tail. It launched itself from above, coming down for a surprise attack. Liu Feng expertly dodged the dive bomb, but unfortunately, the force of the blow snapped his sword clean in two, the broken tip burying itself deep in the pavement. He then held out his hand, activating its sensor mode to take control of the metal blade. To me, at Liu Feng's command, the broken shard ripped itself from the ground and shot straight through the zombie's skull. After dropping it, an exhausted Liu Feng gasped for breath. Damn, these evolved types are on another level. Watching him take down that monster from a distance, Obi was in total awe. He's so powerful. Liu Feng examined the broken hilt, a look of disbelief on his face. An evolved bone blade actually shattered my composite sword? Shaking it off, he scanned the area again. Seeing the number of walkers swelling, he yelled out a warning. This is bad. The gunshots must have drawn every freak in the area. Just then, Liu Feng spotted an auto repair shop across the street. Hey, to shake these things off their tail, he commanded loudly. Quick, get to that garage up ahead. They didn't hesitate and followed his lead, ducking inside the shop for temporary cover. Obi, tending to another wounded survivor, couldn't thank them enough. Thank you all so much, Li Hin cut him off. Save the thanks for later. First, we clear the building. We'll start with the second floor. They all moved cautiously up the stairs. She and Liu Feng took up a defensive position in front of a closed door, when suddenly, a zombie burst through a nearby window, charging wildly. Without a moment's hesitation, he jammed his broken blade straight through its jaw. The creature collapsed at his feet. Liu Feng glanced at the shattered sword in his hand and muttered, "Looks like I need to forge a new weapon." After a quick sweep, Li Hin gave the all clear. This floor is secure. That was the last of them, so we can crash here for the night. So that night, the four of them huddled around a small lamp for warmth inside the garage. From the second story, she peered out at the scene below. We're completely surrounded. Hearing that, Liu Feng didn't seem fazed. It's fine. I'll forge a new weapon in a little while. If those things are still out there tomorrow, we'll just have to carve our way out. She looked at him skeptically. A modification ability. With that blue glow? Could he actually be one of the legendary mutants? Once things settled down, Obi finally introduced himself. Hey everyone, my name's Obi. I'm an electrician. Thanks again for the save. We're what's left of the survivors from the next block over. We were out on a food run. If you guys hadn't shown up, we'd all be dead for sure. Liu Feng's interest was piqued. An electrician, you say? Want to join our disaster response team? All you have to do is pull your weight. We'll provide food and a safe place to stay. Obi didn't jump at the offer, hesitating for a moment. Well, I mean, you did save my life and all, but I really need to talk it over with my friend first. Right on cue, his stomach let out a massive growl. Liu Feng smirked, seizing the opportunity. Hungry? He then pulled out some rations, making an offer that was impossible to refuse. I've got some food right here, Obi. We've got it all. Food, water, and even medical supplies. Just agree to join us, and I'll patch up your friend and guarantee you a sweet life from now on. Hearing that, you'd think he'd be grateful. But instead, Obi just snapped. I'd rather take a swan dive into a zombie horde than eat a single crumb of your food. He said it with his whole chest, but you wouldn't believe that just a moment later, he was shoveling rice into his mouth like a man starved, all while totally sucking up. Wow, this smells amazing. An army really does march on its stomach. After he was stuffed, the weight of his situation crashed down on him. Man, how am I gonna die? I'm still a virgin. Out of nowhere, Liu Feng reached out his hand and clapped him on the shoulder. Hey, relax. We're gonna get through this. He shot him a confident smile, then gestured to himself. And for the record, I'm in the same boat as you. Seeing the two of them hitting it off, Li Hin decided to chime in. My, Captain, such heroic words. Her sudden forwardness caught him completely off guard. Li Hin, ignoring his attempt at camaraderie, even made a point to press her ample chest right against his arm. We are definitely going to survive, so don't you worry. Her seductive move was enough to make even Liu Feng flustered. Obi, watching the two of them flirt, could only stew in annoyance. Yeah, in the same boat. My ass. An hour later, down on the first floor, a tense quiet had fallen over the auto repair shop. Liu Feng, having found a flashlight, was now scavenging for useful supplies. He made a silent vow to himself to craft a new weapon before dawn. After gathering a pile of components, he mused, okay, that's a decent amount of material. What should I build? As his eyes scanned the garage one last time, he spotted some kind of heavy-duty machine. What's this? After a closer inspection, a grin spread across Liu Feng's face. That's it. I'll make that. The next morning, when the bright sun had burned away the dark, oppressive sky, Everyone was already wide awake. It was clear Obi had seen something that terrified him. Ah, what in the world is that? He and Li Hin peered outside, only to find a literal ocean of zombies had converged on their location. Watching their numbers multiply by the second, Obi was losing it. We're so dead! In sharp contrast to his panicked face, she remained perfectly calm. We need to find a way out. Li Hin glanced back at Xiao Yang and, she thought, we're stuck with an injured person. Her frustration mounted. There's no way we can move fast enough. Huh? Suddenly, a massive roar echoed from outside, grabbing the attention of the entire zombie horde. As well as Li Hin, a car was tearing through the crowd, dragging one of the dead from its bumper. On top of it stood a man covered in tattoos, running his mouth. Ha ha. You dumb bastards, I'm right here. It was none other than Gong Jun. He was practically daring them, screaming like a madman, "Woohoo, come and get me!" Li Hin and OB were floored to see him there. The approaching vehicle successfully kited the entire horde. The people on board were yelling and screaming with glee. Oh, seeing this, OB was overjoyed. This is perfect. They're here to lure the zombies away again. But then, in an instant, Li Hin's instincts screamed that something was terribly wrong. This is bad. We need to leave now. OB immediately followed her command, helping Xiao Yang up while asking, "Huh? What's going on?" She then voiced her suspicion, "I think they might be after us." And just as she said it, Gong Jun led his crew to smash down the door and charge right in. "Woohoo! Get 'em, boys! Whoa, look at the hottie!" the point man yelled. "Long live the Iron Clan!" But he didn't get to celebrate long. Li Hin drew her sidearm and put down the first two guys. The last one was stunned. Holy crap, she's packing heat? With the policy of leaving no loose ends, Li Hin deployed the short blade on her vambrace, silencing the rambling goon for good. Suddenly, another figure lunged from the shadows to ambush her, but with her sixth sense, that uncanny intuition of hers, Li Hin sensed the attack and dodged clear. Ha! After landing gracefully, she snapped her aim toward the new enemy. Huh! Suddenly, her eyes widened in pure shock, standing before Li Hin were Obi and Xiao Yang, held hostage with knives to their throats. The woman with the eye patch let out a contemptuous sneer. Heh, you're a feisty one. I didn't expect you to be carrying a piece. Firearms are pretty scarce these days. Not only that, but she laid out a threat. You even twitch, and your friends get it. Then she motioned to her lackeys and introduced herself. All right, let's get formal. I am Dutu, the captain of the Iron Clan. You with the military? After her little speech, Dutu held up a photo of Callie. So, you a government sellout? You ever seen this woman? Her name's Callie. Li Hin stood her ground, her voice steady and calm as she replied, No, that was her poker face. But on the inside, she was frantically screaming, Damn it, Liu Feng, where are you? They're looking for Callie. Suddenly, the wounded Xiao Yang struggled to get the words out, answering Dutu. We heard a Callie just joined the survivor group at the supermarket. Unexpectedly, the captain's whole attitude toward him changed, becoming almost cheerful. Well, thank you. For that, I've decided to let you all live. Then she turned her provocative gaze back to Li Hin. Hey, soldier girl, you and me. Let's go one-on-one. No guns. If you win, you all walk. Without even waiting for an answer, Dutu dropped into a combat stance, pulling two hidden daggers. Let's go, she screamed, rushing forward, absolutely buzzing with excitement. Let's have a little fun. Ha ha! In that split second between life and death, Li Hin spotted a bizarre figure materialize behind her opponent. Hey, a deep voice commanded, move. All of a sudden, a horse head mask blocked both of Dutu's daggers. It was Liu Feng, of course, now decked out in the weird mask and holding a chainsaw. He pulled the cord, firing up the triple-bladed chainsaw. Dutu stared at Liu Feng, her eyes wide with utter astonishment. Then, sparks began to form inside the mask's mouth. He blew a huge breath, and a jet of fire erupted, scorching her chest. Ah, it turns out that thing. Liu Feng was decked out in gear he'd built himself. A D-rank flame-breathing horse head for 20 modification points, and a C-rank happy chainsaw for 30. Now with a lower energy cost thanks to a level 2 upgrade. He struck a pose and declared, I am but the humble sword saint of the horse, here to rescue a damsel in distress. Hearing this, she just stared, completely baffled. Huh? The sword saint of the horse? Meanwhile, across town, inside a chaotic shopping mall, a young woman was nonchalantly sipping on a glass of juice. This was none other than Callie. While everyone else was dealing with the mess she'd started, she was just kicking back and enjoying the show. Suddenly, a voice cut through the noise. Well, if it isn't Callie, she slid her sunglasses down to see who it was, then recognizing them, pushed the glasses back up and went back to lounging. The newcomers were none other than Zhang Sun, Li Si, and Wang Wu. Taking in Callie's revealing outfit, they started getting some nasty ideas. All by your lonesome? Why don't you come hang with us for a bit? When Callie completely ignored them, they decided to get aggressive. What's the matter? Gorgeous? Not in the mood to play with your big brothers? Seeing she still wasn't moving, the lead thug, Zhang San, sneered at her. Of course, it's fine if you say no. Then, with a disgusting grin, he slid a knife into view as a warning. Because we get a real kick out of your type when they put up a fight. Beside him, Li Si licked his lips, in anticipation. All right, let's get this party started. At that point, she'd had enough. She snatched her drink and flung it straight into Li Si's leering face, making him yelp in shock. He got a first-hand lesson on the acidic power of lemon, and it clearly wasn't pleasant. My eyes! Seeing her fight back, Zhang San's face twisted in rage. You little witch! You had to do this the hard way, didn't you? But just as he lunged, Luo Yi stepped out from the shadows, leveling a pistol at them. Zhang San froze dead in his tracks, his eyes wide with fear. A cop! The thugs were on the ground in seconds, whining. Ow! 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 The officer kept his gun aimed squarely at them. Callie told me you guys might try to pull something. I didn't want to believe it, but I figured I'd check. And here you are. Pinned to the floor, Zhang San spat. You're in on it with this tramp, setting us up? In an instant, a boot slammed onto his face as a cold voice shot back. Tramp? Callie glared down at him, her expression ice cold. A piece of trash like you belongs in a cage. A flicker of pure disgust crossed her face, and I refuse to let a ticking time bomb like you just walk away. Then, without a hint of mercy, she started stomping on the creep's face, over and over. Miles away from the mall, the battle was still raging. Toxin and Liu Feng's blades clashed as she growled. Not bad. You've got some moves. Who the hell are you? But he just kept up the act, refusing to give a straight answer. I'm her steed. Using the split-second Toxin was thrown off. Liu Feng smacked her weapon out of her hands. She roared in frustration. What kind of hero wears a stupid horse mask? Anyway, before she could even regain her balance, Liu Feng hit Toxin with another surprise attack. He unleashed a torrent of fire from his mask, but she'd already anticipated the move and dove out of the way. Same trick again, Toxin sneered as she landed. You really think I'm gonna fall for that twice? But she spoke too soon. Liu Feng extended his hands, which were now glowing with energy from built-in sensors, aiming them right at her blade. Then how about a taste of some magnetic force you've never felt before? Controlled by the powerful field, Toxin was violently slammed to the ground as he yelled, "Get down!" In the next instant, Liu Feng's arm was locked around her neck, pinning her completely. You lose. Seeing their leader captured, her crew cried out, Boss! He tightened his chokehold, making her squirm. Only then did he finally pull off the horse head. If I recall, you said that if I won, you'd let my friend go, correct? Realizing she was beaten, Toxin switched tactics to psychological warfare. You know, for a guy with your looks and power, are you really sticking with that Callie girl? We're actually heading to the supermarket to grab her next. Her plan piqued his interest, and he couldn't help but ask, why are you so dead set on capturing her? Toxin answered without hesitation. The Minister of Health, Zheng Tiansheng, put up a massive bounty of supplies for her. These government suits are always acting so high and mighty. Mark my words, one of these days, I'm gonna take out every last one of those scumbags. Toxin was getting lost in her own vengeful fantasy when Liu Feng cut her short. Sorry, but you're not getting that chance. Pinned beneath him, she frantically tried to think of an escape. Damn it, this is bad. If I don't go all out, he's going to snap my neck. But then, a strange expression crossed Toxin's face, one of twisted pleasure. This lethally satisfying pressure. No, I'm at my limit. I have to break free. Just then, the piercing wail of a siren cut through the air, grabbing everyone's attention. Li Xin peered at the mayhem outside and asked nervously, What's going on out there? Suddenly, her eyes shot wide open in pure terror. At that exact moment, the system blared a warning. Mutated power-type zombie detected. Immediate evacuation is advised. Simultaneously, one of Toxin's lackeys ran up to report. Boss, something's tearing through our convoy! She was so furious she felt her head spin. What? Outside, a colossal zombie was on a rampage, effortlessly hoisting a car over its head. Then, with a monstrous roar, it hurled the vehicle straight through the side of the building. The people inside scrambled for cover as the car exploded through the wall, sending debris and dust everywhere. The entire place was thrown into absolute chaos. This is our chance. Let's get out of here. They vanished into the thick cloud of dust, leaving Toxin and her crew behind. Her men reported anxiously, Boss, it's a total loss. They got all the hostages. What's our next move? Toxin ground her teeth in fury and ordered a retreat, telling them to deal with the zombies first and that they'd hunt down Callie later. They're all in this together, so they'll... All right, let's move on the supermarket. Once we get there, I'm wiping every last one of them out. At that very moment, inside the supermarket, a fair-skinned hand was meticulously taking notes. After Callie finished her inventory count, she started delegating tasks to the group. Starting now, we're rationing all food. We've only got enough to last 5 days. I need patrols on all surrounding entrances. Lai quickly chimed in. I already sent Ale to make the rounds. Tomorrow, we're going to head out on a supply run. He then offered his sincere thanks. I really appreciate you stepping up. This is a huge load off my mind. Tuton also suggested they keep those prisoners locked down for the time being. As the group was talking, YY chewed on her nails, her mind festering with jealousy. This damn witch shows up out of nowhere and thinks she can run the show? Without thinking, she snapped at Callie. Why the hell are we rationing food? Seeing her, about to lose it, Lai immediately tried to shut her down. Why, knock it off. This is for all of us. Callie had no time for such a hothead. If you don't like rationing, you're welcome to go outside and fight the dead. After that, Callie paid. Her no more attention, turning to her list and asking, Ma'am, that pregnant woman? How far along is she? Granny Kim looked puzzled but answered honestly, You know, it's strange, you ask. When Lee Hoa first got here, her stomach was completely flat, but just a few days later, she looks like she's about to pop. How could she get that big, that fast? Being completely dismissed sent YY into a rage. That bitch, she's ignoring me. Hearing this, Callie's suspicion deepened. She then gave the old woman an instruction to swell up like that in a matter of days. Something's not right. Ma'am, could you take some food to them for me? And while you're there, get a good look at the situation. An image of the woman's arm flashed in her mind, the wound. On her. It wasn't from a biter, was it? Her orders given, Callie turned to walk away. Seeing this, YY bolted in front of her. You didn't answer my question! La Y immediately stepped between them. Why? Callie's voice was ice. There's nothing to talk about. She then flipped the question back on her. I made the call, and I'll be out there with the team, killing walkers and finding supplies. What will you be doing? YY was